Welcome, welcome. How is everybody doing this fine Tuesday? We have less than 24 hours before league start, and I hope you are as hyped as I am. I honestly cannot wait until tomorrow when we get to finally play Settlers of Calgary. As promised, oh god damn, you know what I'm just realizing? The old PoE logo right here. I assume this is the old version. So much has changed in just 5 years, but then 5 years is 5 years. It's like it's less than half of the game's age, but still. And as I was saying, as promised, we're going to go through Acts 2 to 10 for lower appreciation to see what exactly is happening on the continent of Rayclast. And maybe that will give us some appreciation for Settlers of Calgary story if/when we play through it. Now, this is not me saying I'm going to listen to dialogue because we have to league start. We have to skip everything. But there is a universe where if I like the lore enough, at some point during the league, when everything has calmed down, maybe I create an SSF character and actually listen to the lore and try to understand why exactly King's March is necessary in the eyes of the King of Calgary, who sent Johan to, build Calgary, build King's March rather. Expedition story is actually insane. It is. Also, I might be live earlier than I thought. I think I could honestly be live by 2, potentially. I'm just waiting for the torrent files to go live for what's it called. Wait for GG to post it because I'm like, yo, what gives? Why is it not out? I need to download it. I need to know I have a lot of breathing room, so my old man internet can take its time to download it. Torrents they're never the quickest, and yo, don't even play with me like that. Don't even play. Delayed by G. I would be livid. I would be fucking livid. Nah. That is too rough of a play to play, if that makes sense. We don't do that. Me and GGG, we gonna have a problem. See, we're gonna have a serious issue. Yo, but that would be heartbreaking. Like, I can't even lie. Can't even imagine it. So I'm not gonna. We're gonna distract ourselves with some lore. I actually wanted to, I saw the bait or no bait from Captain Lance, and I wanted to check that out. But since I already promised lore appreciation, we're gonna do that, because if I check out Captain Lance, I might not have the time for that. But have I seen No Rest for the Wicked? No, I have not. Thank you for reminding me. I should do that first. Do this. I mean, post patch, I don't see how the corpses won't be updated. It might be. The universe where reroll type of situation goes on here. All right, let's watch this No Rest for the Wicked. Apparently they released an update on the update is about the Crucible. They updated the current end game. I say end game in quote because it's only Act 1 we've been through, but they updated the current end game. They basically, from the post I saw on their Discord, it sounds like they reworked it and introduced a new faction and stuff. So let's just see what the overview looks like. Definitely not creepy. Perfectly normal. You know, actually missed no rest for the Wicked's combat, low-key. Even though it didn't allow me to go full magic. I still don't know why they wouldn't let you just go full magic. I think after an update they allowed you to go full range, but they never allowed you to go full magic. Because initially range would cost focus to even shoot an arrow, but I think eventually they made it so they had an ability where it wouldn't cost focus, but then their second ability still had a focus cost or something. So you could actually use a bow without focus. And I kind of was hoping for the same thing for magic, but I don't remember I've seen anything of this sort. If they've done it, then good, but I don't think they have. So what you're saying is every 3 rounds will be the same because you're just 3 different environments that maybe have different elemental mobs. Like basically it's the same thing but just a different color environment. Mobs are probably different, but you will run into the same layout at some point. Unless they really created so much. What's this? Collect what? Did I collect traces? What the fuck are traces? I saw something green going to him, so I guess that's what it is. Let's see. Movement speed and attack speed increased by 10%. Just for free at all times. Nice. Rune attacks consume all focus, dealing damage proportional to the focus consumed. Or reduce maximum focus by... No. How about that? Stamina increased by 30%. Damage dealt reduced by 20%. No. Poise defense increased by 10. I would rather just go for the Blitzing Fury. I know the purples are the plague. Plagues always have a downside. So regardless of what the upside is, it's going to be a downside. However, if there was any I would go for, it is rune attacks deal less damage, but your focus consumed is reduced by even more than the damage, so you can cast more. That's what I would personally go for, because I want to cast more, not less. Hey, you changed it. But you just rolled one. Or you picked... No, he picked one. You were one ugly bitch. Do you know that? Exalt your weapons. So this goes from 22 damage, 10 defense to 30 damage, 12 defense. What else changes? It's the exact same weapon. Weights, everything stays the same. Damage dealt also increased. So it's just buffed pretty much. It's like you upgraded the weapon without upgrading it. And you can only exalt it once. Nice. Woo! So the freezing hits can shatter. That is cool. Ooh, they added more gore. Sign me up. Good luck fucking dodging, surviving this. Bonk. Like you can hear the bonk. Really, they added pet the dog. Ooh, Steam Deck supports. Oh, that is nice. To be, yeah. If only there was like they had released all content, I would have logged in, but they have not. So I'm not going to log in. But these are pretty dope. Okay, I like it. It's a good one. They really do need to release newer arts, though. I will say that much. I don't know if I'm gonna return for like a single new act being added, and the reason being, well, I'm a content creator, so maybe I will, simply because there'll be, if they do, there's gonna be a lot of hype around it, and if there's a lot of hype around it, then I kind of have no choice. Want to be able to grab it to pass to me later today / tomorrow. Grab what? A corpse? But yeah, what was I saying? I don't know if I would have the choice to not log in, depending on how much the hype is. But if I had my way, I wouldn't log into No Rest for the Wicked until it was completely done. Why? Because after I was finished with Act 1, I wanted more, but there was no more, and I kind of didn't like that. Now, granted, there was a Crucible, but that just feels like I'm wasting my time. Not because to me, the fact that I haven't finished the campaign makes me feel like the Crucible isn't maps. And if the Crucible isn't maps, then I'm just wasting my time. You know, I'm not getting insane like vertical progression, if that makes sense. Like I can get better gear and stuff, but at my character's core, I'm not like getting insane new skills and just different ways to like use different, like, I don't feel like I'm gonna get that from playing the Crucible versus playing PoE, where now you have access to oils, you have access to better bases, you have access to different mechanics that could potentially spike up your damage. You have access to delve, so you can get +1 specters. You have access to stuff like Raid Lord in tier 7, things that makes pure specters possible. You get so many different ways in the end game to alter your build versus, let's say, imagine there was some end, like imagine you started delving in Act 4 or something, where like, okay, that's it. If that makes sense. Let's get on with the lore videos, because we're 22 minutes in and we haven't seen a second of it.
Welcome back, Exile, to another video in Noodle's complete lore series. This video covers Act 2. Let's get started.
Lol, look at that
When
portal.
we emerge from the caves of Siren's Cove, we are in the lush southern forest. It's a short trip to the forest encampment located at the southern tip of Lake Constance in the Frisian Forest.
My brain is already not processing information. Why? I don't know why my brain isn't processing information. I just realized that whole sentence went over my head.
We are in the lush southern forest. It's a short trip to the forest encampment located at the southern tip of Lake Constance in the Frisian Forest.
Yeah, going to forest
encampments. This small gathering has 4 new characters: Groost, Yena, Silk, and Aramir. Groost, Yena, and Silk are all Asmiri, a people from the Asmirian ranges.
Groost, that traitor, fucking tries to kill us in Act 6. Was it 7? No, it's 7, right? Where we had to kill him at his gathering of corrupt followers, or yada yada.
To the west. Their culture is older than the Empire, and older even than written.
Same with Nessa. On that note, fuck Nessa. Just putting out there, you know, those people who we help in the first half, and then they come out, they decide to get corrupted and decide to betray us. Like, fuck y'all. Just saying.
In history, it was the Asmirian Tarkus Veruso who descended from the mountain ranges to found the Eternal Empire in 1 IC. Groost is a warrior for the Asmiri, currently in the forest encampment, who is protective of his people and mistrustful of foreigners. Silk is a hunter, but also a storyteller, which Yena claims have some truth behind their embellishment. Silk and Groost seem to be rivals. Yina is a compassionate woman who can speak to the spirit, which gives her guidance.
And they're
We
all
learn
as
from Bruce
Miri.
that a group of Oriath guards traveled through the encampment and headed east. Aramir is an exile like yourself. He was formerly a scholar in the Great Library of Oriath, and his vast knowledge of Asmiri history has given him acceptance, although tentative for some, into this Asmiri group. Aramir used to work for High Templar Dominus,
So he's
collecting
not.
and
So
translating
he is
documents
not.
primarily
So
about thaumaturgy.
Aramir is not as Miri. He is Oriathan. Is that what they call him? The fuck? I don't know what they call him. But he's from Oriath. But he was accepted because my dude is smart. You know, he did research.
From the likes of Fairgraves and Doresso.
By the way, I'm saying all of this because I'm trying to keep my brain processing, because for some reason I feel like I can easily blank out on what's being said right now. I don't know what it is, but you know.
Aramir claims to regret his work for Dominus, but it has given him much knowledge. Fun fact, Xana calls Aramir uncle, as he also worked alongside Valdo Caesarius, who is Xana's father and, spoilers, the Shaper.
Valdo Caesarius. So Valdo's maps originated from the Shaper. Okay. Cool.
We make our way east to follow the Blackguards and find the aptly named Crossroads. We follow the path north to the Chamber of Sins. The ruling emperor during the Purity Rebellion, Chittus Parandus, had this thaumaturgical laboratory known as the Chamber of Sins, built for a man named Inquisitor Malagaro. Laboratory known as the Chamber of Sins, Chittus Parandus had this thaumaturgical laboratory known as the Chamber of Sins.
So the leader of Oriath, got it. Because I heard Parandus and my brain went to Parandus Pact, and I think it's Janus Parandus, right? And I'm like, why would Janus want to do this? And I remembered, oh yeah, Parandus was the name of the leader of Oriath. He's the Caesar or whatever.
Built for a man named Inquisitor Malagaro. Malagaro, like Chevron, was another student of Malachi in thaumaturgy. Malagaro considered himself
Malachi got students.
An artist, interested in studying the most extreme of human emotions. The Chamber of Sins was built for Malagaro to create more powerful and diverse thaumaturgical tools, more potent than existing virtue gems. In the center of the first floor of the Chamber of Sins is the Reverie device, which many players will recognize as a map device. There is a note on the device from Malachi to Inquisitor Malagaro, telling him he must mentally prepare for his experimental transformation of virtue gems and to master conscious dreaming, which is a cryptic hint to the use of the Reverie device. We make our way downstairs.
So when we use our map devices, what are we high? Are we hallucinating? Do we just think we're seeing some different time and space?
And enter a long chamber where we see Piety running away, towards us but on the other side of a large chasm, and she escapes. Piety challenges us to find her in the city of Sarn as she leaves. Just ahead, a woman is hiding and warns us of a thing.
But this was blasphemy, so he has to hide it in code. Oh.
That has slaughtered everyone.
Okay.
Here we encounter the monstrously deformed Spider-Man named Fidelitas the Morning. Please forgive my pronunciation of this name. I have no idea how to pronounce it correctly. Fidelitas was once Malagaro's assistant, a man named Raulo. Raulo was highly devoted to Malagaro and his work, and some believe Raulo was in love with Malagaro. Raulo allegedly offered himself as a test subject for Malagaro's thaumaturgical experiments. Malagaro took advantage of this devotion and injected Raulo with Calibric Extantia, which is the essence of a virtue gem.
Yeah, damn.
And Raulo became this monster, which Malagaro named Fidelitas, after fidelity or loyalty. Fidelitas has been here since before the Purity Rebellion began in 1319 IC. After killing him, the woman steps out of hiding and introduces herself as Helena. Helena was a blackguard
I like how she fixes the 1319 to with 1333 as text. Like the average viewer is gonna give a fuck about those numbers. Like I'm gonna go 3 minutes into this video and I won't remember the year.
Guard working for Piety. Piety had come to the Chamber of Sins seeking one of Inquisitor Maligaro's creations called the Baleful Gem, which we have picked up after defeating Fidelitas. Apparently, Piety was not aware of Fidelitas's presence, and the entire Blackguard group besides Piety and Helena were killed. Piety deserted Helena and escaped, as we saw, and now Helena swears to help us track down and stop Piety. The Baleful Gem is one of Maligaro's experiments on enhancing virtue gems. Apparently, the experiment itself was...
We get baleful gems from beating Fidelitas, correct? The baleful gem. Thaumaturgy is real? Oh, it's gonna be real tomorrow. It's gonna be real tomorrow. What up? How you doing?
...was a failure, but Helena tells us that the Baleful Gem and venom from one of Maligaro's arachnids can create a powerful poison called the Black Elixir. Inquisitor Maligaro has made the Black Elixir before, claiming it as the most potent poison in existence.
Okay.
Helena returns with us to the forest.
Why do we need poison this? I mean, I know why eventually we need it for the roots and yada yada, but like, why is she telling us about the poison?
Encampment and tells us what Piety's plans were in this area. Besides the Baleful Gem, Piety was looking for the instrument for injecting Calibric Extantia, or Essence of Virtue Gem, which is referred to as Maligaro's
so that's what this
spike.
is.
Helena's arrival stirs mixed feelings in the forest.
Yo, that is one fucking scary injection. Like, imagine you go to the doctor and they bring out that shit. Like, look at it. Like, this is supposed to go in your butt. Nah, G.
As Maligaro's spike. Helena's arrival stirs mixed feelings in the forest encampment. Most are distrustful. But we have proven our power by defeating Fidelitas, so the members of the encampment ask us to help with other quests in exchange for helping us find Piety. Yena has already asked us to kill a...
Oh, what's that thread? Tell me it's out. It is! I'm not downloading it yet because I'm streaming. But if I wasn't streaming, that's exactly where I'm going once I end the stream. I'm going to download that. Thaumaturgy has been since medieval times. Miracles as such as products of it. That's why the vow and blood. Okay, I think you're still typing.
A large bear called the Great White Beast. If you have, ask us to help with other quests in exchange for helping us find Piety. Yena has already asked us to kill...
So at this point, our goal is simple. Just finding Piety. We don't really care about what's happening on the continents. We're helping out this group because we want to find Piety.
A large bear called the Great White Beast. If you have, she will ask you to go to the Fellshrine ruins and retrieve the good man's hand. Aramir asks us to handle 3 bandits that live in camps across the Frisian forest, who are fighting for control over the area. Apparently, each bandit took a piece of a small pyramid that the encampment held, an artifact that granted enhanced strength. If we collect the 3 pieces, we can make the small pyramid whole and grant some peace to the encampment. We learn that the overly large beasts in the area are all experiments of Maligaro, including the Great White Beast and a large spider to the west named the Weaver. Silk tells us that he had Maligaro's spike, not knowing its history, and that it was his favorite weapon, but he lost it trying to fight the Weaver. To the south of the crossroads are the Fellshrine ruins.
So that's how the spider got it.
The Fellshrine ruins were once the Frisia Cathedral, presided over by Archbishop Joffrey.
Wait. Frisia sounds familiar. The gloves that allowed you to use link skill auras with generosity. I think it's like Hand of Frisia or something.
Joffrey was a Templar and starkly anti-thaumaturgy. He was horrified that Emperor...
So Templars are anti-thaumaturgy? Okay.
Chittis had allowed Maligaro's laboratory, a place for extreme thaumaturgical experiments on beasts and people alike, to be built so close to his cathedral. In part due to this disgust, Archbishop Joffrey plotted with the leader of the
Joffrey's
Purity
crest
Rebellion,
or crown or
High
whatever it's
Templar
called.
Vol, to kill Malagaro and destroy the laboratory that Joffrey himself dubbed the Chamber of Sins. Malagaro learned of this plan. When Joffrey sent men to attack the laboratory, they were killed,
There it is.
and Malagaro sent his own men to kill Joffrey in his cathedral and succeeded. Archbishop Joffrey's spirit was brought back to life by the cataclysm and remains in the ruins of the cathedral to this day, at the Golden Hand Shrine where he was killed. You can kill Joffrey to safely get the hand, or avoid his attacks and take the hand cathedral to this day, at the Golden Hand Shrine where he was killed. You can kill Joffrey to safely get the hand, or avoid his attacks and take the hand, leaving his spirit there.
Okay, I mean, I always kill whatever boss I run into, but good to know I can leave him. I mean, I'm not gonna. That seems cruel. PoE self-disclosure. Players become actual gods as if already, like in Reality Player 1 in... Like in Ready Player 1 in Hyper Reality. Yeah, like, I know the whole concept of the Maven, the Shaper, the Elder, and Exarch Eater. These are basically like, you know, Eater of Worlds. Like literally his name is Eater of Worlds. They mark what they basically just want to destroy or consume or burn or whatever else, and the player stops them. I've heard this is something I've heard, and that the exile you're playing eventually, you know, keeps going through maps, gets strong, gets godlike, becomes a god, pretty much loses his mind and becomes Sirius the Awakener.
The three bandits vying for power over the Frisian forest are Creighton, Oak, and Illyra. All three are Oriath exiles. The three were assisting a woman named Lily Roth, who we will meet later, in retrieving an artifact called the Teardrop from the Templars in Theopolis. The three bandits reside in different areas of the forest.
Do we ever get to Theopolis?
One bandit and receive their reward, or kill all the bandits and receive Aramir's reward. With either choice, we can collect the 3 parts.
That's the paradox of exiles. Reminds me of Sirius. The paradox of exiles. You essentially have to stop yourself from destroying the world, thereby making you stronger and propelling you to the future where you do try to destroy the world.
To complete the small pyramid called the Apex that was stolen from the Asmiri.
If you translate to fractal nature of reality, it might actually related to actual thaumaturgy. What do you mean fractal? What do you mean?
Creighton lives east of the crossroads on the Broken Bridge. Oak is northwest of the encampment in the wetlands. Illyra is in the western forest. In this western forest, we also see the other side of the gate Piety sealed in Act 1. We can kill her lover.
Like imagine how much land you would have skipped if Piety wasn't just a complete asshole locking this gate. You wouldn't have to deal with like the ship graveyard. You don't have to deal with Marvale. You won't have to deal with the freaking even the forest encampment. Well, you do because you need a poison to proceed and yada yada. Well, you at least skip Marvale
to unlock,
you know, make her someone else's problem.
This gate. The small pyramid is an ancient artifact that has resided with these Asmiri descendants for some time. But the Asmiri are not known for pyramids. There is an ancient civilization come and gone that lived alongside the Asmiri that are known for pyramids, a civilization we will learn much about, called the Val. In the western forest...
So we're about to get to Weaver. Different parallel or temporal dimensions of each singularity in the whole design of existence. Okay. But is this if you're like drawing a parallel from PoE to real life?
forest, we find groups of trees covered in spider webs indicating the entrance to the Weaver's chambers, where Malagaro's spike was dropped. We must...
Have you heard that life is a simulation? I saw. Do you remember? Yep, I do remember that. This world is an illusion, Exile. The touch of God.
Fight our way through a maze of spiders to find and kill the Weaver, a large spider that was once Malagaro's experiment. We know that Malagaro's spike was used as a tool to inject Calabric extantia.
So are you saying that... Let me see if I understand what you're saying well enough. Are you saying that we technically exist in the Exile's world, quote unquote, and what Dominus says there is kind of almost is almost breaking the fourth wall to where he's referring to the fact that this is a game? That is what I understand so far of what I think you're saying. They could go far beyond that because of the invention of technology and hyper reality. Maybe Dominus is the creator of the Machinarium itself and a continuous paradox of existence. Okay, I think I'm understanding it. Exactly, and we're trapped. If you Google Kepler's Mysterium, you will see kind of like the models of the physical realm. I think I've heard someone talk about something like this. I mean, but to be fair, if the universe was a simulation, we would never know. And if that person's universe is also a simulation, well, this goes on forever. Like we could be in theory in an infinite loop of simulations and or virtual realities, just computer consciousness. I feel like that's an actual word, so I'm going to go with it.
But we can also use it to contain venom from the Weaver, which combined with the baleful gem makes the powerful poison Black Elixir. Inject Calabric experiment. We know that Malagaro's spike was used as a tool to inject Calabric extantia, but we can also use it to contain venom from the Weaver, which combined with the baleful gem makes the powerful poison Black Elixir.
Okay.
Up in the wetlands, there is an old tunnel covered by the roots of the great tree Lorata. Aramir says this is the oldest tree in this part of the continent.
So you kill it.
Which means it must die. We learn that this entrance is likely to an old...
Wait, what? How the fuck does that mean the tree must die? Yeah, that's the oldest. So it's gotta die. Like, bruh, what? What? And then you consider technology which is related to thaumaturgy. It all just makes sense since technology is comparable with magic, relatively speaking. Seem like a hologram that's created by a computer. I mean, I get what you mean, because in reality, you can, in theory, say magic doesn't exist, in the sense that magic is just something or anything that you do not understand how it works. Same way you take a cell phone to someone from the, let's say, medieval times, and I mean, that's magic to them. Just hearing a song from that tiny box, magic, It's just relative to how much understanding you all have as a species, I guess.
Old Val ruin. Helena tells us that Piety, along with studying the works of Malachi's students, is greatly interested in the Val.
What?
Studying the works of Old Val ruin. Helena tells us that Piety, along with studying the works of Malachi's students, is greatly interested in the Val.
So Malachi's students and Piety are interested in the Val, okay.
Piety, Helena, and the Blackguards had tried to enter this area beneath Lorata's roots to no avail. With the Black Elixir, we are...
something that is very funny that I just realized. So the Exile, hearing the fact that the baleful gem can be combined with poison, with the spider's poison to create the worst poison known to man. Hearing this, you know what the Exile does? He's like, haha, bet. He doesn't have, you have no reason to do it. You don't know about the existence of the roots yet. You're just like, I just want to do it. I just want to make that poison. Like, no motivation, no reason, no, oh, this is like the roots exist. Like, no, you just make it, because why the fuck not? Or rather, you get all the ingredients to make it, I should say. Paradoxical technology would suffer the same, so it goes beyond where it reminds to the belly of the beast and the carnal nature of beings. There's stuff like the Eldritch horrors, everything related to PoE somehow. Oh yeah, the Eldritch horrors. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. And yeah, there is what do you call it? I want to say there is a theory that basically says the ultimate advancement, or slash, you can get so advanced as a, do I want to say species, that you just basically go full circle back to just, like you said, the carnal nature of beings, right? Where you just eat, like, consume everything, or whatever the nature of whatever is,
able to poison the roots of this great tree and enter the Val ruins. The Val ruins are filled with sarcophagi, and Aramir refers to the place as a tomb. The Val civilization lasted from at least 900 BIC, the recorded first contact with the Azmiri people, until the fall of the Val in 400 BIC.
A good 500 years.
Piety is interested in the Val because the Val were a people who used thaumaturgy and virtue gems, which they called tears of Magi. Pardon pronunciation again. The Val were the first to create and use virtue gems that we know of. Fun.
So they created it?
Fact.
So they are the source of it? I feel like I remember, let's just watch.
Between regular skill gems and Val skill gems is the need for sacrifice, killing enemies and harvesting their souls to utilize a Val gem.
Oh.
While we eventually learn a lot about Val culture and its various traces found in modern Wraeclast, the significance of these particular ruins are a mystery.
Tell me why I in my head I was like, I need to press tab so I can see the map. Then I remember I'm not the one playing, my guy. It ain't me. It is not me, I gotta chill on my tab. Like, I don't know how you play without tab, but exactly. Then you consider the materialization and relationship mechanically with each other. The loop thing you just said makes more sense. Yeah. It's definitely interesting.
As we make our way through the maze-like ruins, we must break an ancient seal.
Like, at its core, PoE might end up being a loop where, in theory, PoE 1 happens, then I guess the events of PoE 2 will happen. I don't know how the exile in PoE 1 is related to the exile in PoE 2, considering the exile in PoE 2 starts off, as trash again, with no power and whatnot. I have no idea how they're linked. If you wanted to create a link, it could even be a situation of, like, I want to say something along the lines of Dragon's Dogma, where I think the game, Dragon's Dogma 2, where the game starts at the end. Like, basically it starts when you are the king of whatever, and you basically have subjects, you're omega powerful, and then I think you take a drink or you something and you just basically disappear into nothingness. You can still see everything, but like time is paused, and all of a sudden you wake up in like mines and stuff, and then you're like, no powers, and I think no memory, and then you kind of just build again, but this time I think it might be like slightly in the future or a different entire like universe. I don't even know.
That blocks our path
Yep, today is Lore Day.
Forward. Once we release the seal, the entire forest is blanketed in darkness. By releasing the seal, we have awakened something. When Tarkus Veruso founded the Empire, he intentionally...
Yeah, so it's entirely possible that the end of PoE 1 might be... It could be a different exile in PoE 2. It could be the same person, just lost their memory, so they have no power, they can't use anything. It could even be maybe after you beat Sirius, Sirius gets reverted to some weak state, and that is the states, and then that the universe continues, and then that is you in part 2, or who knows. I hope they do tell us about the link between PoE 1 and PoE 2, though. That I kind of want to know.
Did so on the ruins of the Val.
There's also stuff related to also memories and stuff related to Venarius. Venarius. Who is Venarius again? He's Cortex, the Cortex person. Who is he in the grand scheme of things? The iterations of each archetype could be related through virtue, since the souls of them are in them, basically. The iterations of each archetype could be related to virtue. What do you mean by could be related to virtue? That's the part that confuses me a bit. Okay, we still don't know. Okay. So Venarius is still shrouded in mystery.
Saying, the Val closed their eyes to flesh and stone, to blood and bronze. We are not Val. We are Asmiri. For now and forever our eyes are open. It is written by Trinian, historian of the Val and Eternal Empire and Intellectus Prime during the Cataclysm 300 years ago, that in 5 IC, shortly after the Eternal Empire was founded, a darkness overtook the lands around Sarn.
Okay.
Some believed it to be a strange weather pattern described as perpetual night. Emperor Caspero, the second emperor, was found.
Isn't that the thing that the exile like releases when he pushes that stone and then beats the architect at the top and cleanses the area pretty much? Attributes is what I related it with: virtue, strength, int, dex. Okay. And she said something about the skill gems being made with souls of each relative archetype. What she was talking about is the Val gems, which requires the sacrifice of like enemy souls to get the extra power. But it would also make sense if the gems themselves were made of souls, and like you said, if these souls had like strong affinity to dex, you could have like a green gem pop out. I know there's something about like the belly of the beast and its creation to gems, but I don't know that. Well, we haven't reached there. At least I'm pretty sure we know it isn't the same exile. You mean between PoE 1 and 2?
Dismembered by something referred to as a dark being, only 5 years after he began his reign. In 35 IC, General Alano Frisia led a group into the lair of this beast, in the former realm of the Val, and sealed it away for eternity. Wink.
And
ending
then
the
we broke the
perpetual
seal.
night. It is likely that the seal we
so we broke the seal, and so we fucked up essentially. They led an army to seal the thing, and peace continued, and then the exile is like, oh, what's this? Push. Okay. Like that was one of the first like really interactive pieces of like PoE lore I got to understand, in the sense that like you break the seal, and then if you if for some reason you go back to town, you realize everywhere is shrouded in darkness. Your waypoints has like a corruption moving on it. I was like, that was so cool the first time I saw it. Duval made it. If you look at the design for the same, for some reason they have like a destiny of gold over the gem itself. I think that's reference to electromagnetism. Duval. Oh yeah, they did mention Duval's made the regular gems, right? What? No, they made their Val version and the regular gems. I remember mentioning. I thought it had something to do with Belly of the Beast. So yes. So they made both. Interesting.
Release that causes the darkness is this same seal from General Frisia in 35 IC. It's also possible this forest was named after Frisia for his heroism in sealing this dark being.
What's the forest name again? I don't remember what the forest name is. That's why Atziri feeds on humanoids because of blood, and then that's what Chevron looks for. There are some div cards that say something about it. Resonance, etc. Let's see, what does resonance say? You're redirected to Trinity. Gift of the Gemling Queen. Our Lady Diala is a symbol of our progress. Symbol of beauty and innocence. Gem corrupted her mind. Malachi corrupted her gems. All but a glimmer of greatness lost in. Oh, I'm kind of curious as to who Diala is at this point, but I'm sure we'll find out in Act 4. Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out in Act 4. Okay, let's continue.
So, good job us for undoing that. We continue past the broken seal, through the northern forest to the caverns, which sprawl underground, and eventually dump out into the bay.
To be fair, it took them an army to seal it, and it took us to kill the thing. So, we are not the same. Just saying.
Of a large Val pyramid. We ascend the levels of the pyramid, ending up in the apex where a dark altar sits. The altar is missing the very top of its pyramid, which is the same size as our small pyramid we restored from the bandits. Placing our pyramid onto the altar, a rumbling begins, and a large being called the Val Oversoul looms before us. The altar itself seems to be the body of this strange mechanical beast. This dark being is what killed Emperor Caspero. Rather than sealing the dark being away once more, we fight it. Upon defeating the Val Oversoul, a feat no one before us could accomplish, the darkness dissipates. Another rumbling is heard, and a passage opens up from the top of the pyramid, leading us to the outskirts of Sarn.
I wonder if the top of Sarn is on like ground, the top of the pyramid is on ground level with Sarn, or if you had to descend the pyramids to get there. Lore PoE is different stories and timelines are tangled in different unorthodox ways because it expands with each league and expansion of the game, ritual, expedition, incursion. Yep, it's a very complex beast, and I'm sure.
Welcome back.
I don't know that anyone right now knows the full PoE lore, like up to date, unless like Kit Kat Noodle is still keeping up and just not posting videos. I don't know, but I don't think anyone else makes lore videos, so. I can't understand what happened in, let's say, Sanctum, or what's the other one? Sanctum. I kind of understand Tota, kind of, not really, but kind of. If I could go back to rewatch the dialogue after watching these acts, maybe I'd understand more of it. So, like I said, maybe there's a universe where I actually, like, once League Start settles down and everything, I actually like open SSF and try to understand the story behind King's March and everything. It could be fun, to be honest, especially now where I know well, PoE GGG kind of acknowledged that their law is kind of, you know, it was kind of all over the place at some point, but and now I think they are structuring it they're structuring it better, most likely, and in a more digestible way, so it might be fun. And I know that at PoE 2 Because at the recent PoE2 events, yeah, I saw. She was at ExileCon. I remember her asking, I think, questions about Tota, because that was when Tota was coming out. But who created those universes? The Shaper? I think it goes beyond that, but it can only be so stretched. That wouldn't surprise me that anything could happen. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be the Shaper that would have created the universes, but at the same time, we don't know. It could be something even the Shaper would be scared of, you know. It could be the thing that maybe we killed that drove us mad and then drove us to being serious. Assuming we don't know why we became serious, which I don't think we do. We just have an idea. We just know that, you know, by putting 2 and 2 together, that we are serious, but we don't know why, or maybe the events are led to it, or maybe we do. But
Exile to another video in Noodle's complete lore series. This video is covering Act 3, and it is a
imagine
doozy,
the Shaper
so
just being the grain
buckle
of sand
up
to
and
some.
let's get
Yeah,
started.
that would be insane.
When we emerge from the Val Pyramid of
Like
Act
everything we know as an endgame boss, going from like the Shaper to his guardians to like, you know, everything there, and all like the big arena that is like almost in a separate dimension, and all of that is a grain of sand to something else that we might have to face it at some point.
2, we find ourselves in the outskirts of the city of Sarn.
Because I mean, once you become a god killer, there's like,
up north, getting closer
is there really
to
a
the
peak
city
from there?
center.
You can keep going up.
On our way, we run into a woman being held hostage by Piety's blackguards. This is Clarissa, an exile of Oriath. When we defeat the blackguards surrounding her,
there are so many exiles from Oriath that it makes me question, why is a player who's just an exile special? In the sense that why can he just go achieve feats that entire armies couldn't? Why can he just become a god slayer eventually? Is it just because he met the right people? Is it because, like, what's so special? Like, is Clarissa's level capped at like level 22? Is there a reason our level is capped at level 100 versus the other exiles? Why are we special? You know, questions like this. Because I know, like in games like RuneScape, for example, there's a quest where Gothix, who is basically like the god among gods in that universe, he makes us the world guardian, which what he actually does is he makes us very resilient to like the other gods, like, you know, because they have like some passive powers and stuff. So he makes it so they cannot influence us or use their powers on us. So, but by doing that, we can protect the world from said gods who are always at war with each other and whatever. So like, I wonder if there's something like in that realm happening here in PoE where there's a reason we are special, but we just don't remember why. And eventually we will. It could even be, imagine if the paradox went as deep as you see yourself going mad, so like as serious, so you change the past, or you send something to the past which allows yourself to be created, because you know only you can stop yourself. Like, imagine if that's how deep the paradox goes. So you create yourself to stop yourself now, who is gonna destroy everything. So then that starts a chain of events that eventually gets you to where you were, to then create yourself. The Crux of Nothingness is weird as well, where you encounter the king in a mist. It doesn't even look like the void as such to me, but at the same time, but related to pre-primordial times, I would say that the void, where you meet the king in a mist, looks more like, it looks like nothingness, but at the same time, it just looks like uncharted territory. It's like, it's just darkness. Stuff exists in the darkness, but it's darkness nevertheless. That would be insane. It could be, yeah, it could be. He actually could, like, because like, what other reason is there as to why the player is special?
That she and her boyfriend Tolman were found by Piety herself, and Piety has taken Tolman. She asks us to find Tolman for her and agrees to meet us at the encampment by the Grand Arena of Sarn. Sarn is the first city founded in the Eternal Empire by the Asmiri Tarkus Varuso, established in 1 IC.
So if Act 3 is near the Grand Colosseum of Sarn, does that mean the forest encampment is also in Sarn, just not the Colosseum?
Varuso came down from the Asmirian mountain ranges through the Doomlands to Azala Val, where Queen Atziri reigned until the fall of the Val.
There's
Sarn
some
is
background
built on
sound
these
to
Val
our
ruins.
voice.
We saw other ruins of the Val in Act 2, as the Val were a powerful, sprawling culture from 900 to 400 BIC. Varuso sealed off everything Val, including the pyramid we escaped from, and banned thaumaturgy and those who meddled with it. The city of Sarn was the seat of the Empire until the Purity Rebellion of 1333 IC. Sarn is where the final battle of the Purity Rebellion took place in 1334 IC, with High Templar Vol leading his many armies against Sarn and the reigning Emperor Chittus Parandus. Vol gathered support from the Karui, led by Kaum, as well as the Ezamites and the Maraketh.
Well, we know who
Vol
lost.
even sowed distrust of Emperor Chittus amongst the common people of the Empire and those concerned with the use of virtue gems and thaumaturgy that Chittus coveted. Now that the High Templars are in power and the Cataclysm has wrecked Rayclast, they rule from Oriath. The Sarn encampment is built near the ruins of the Grand Arena of Sarn, which stands in the middle of Sarn, surrounded by the waters of the Chittus River. Within Sarn, there are 2 temples, one for the sun god Solaris and one for the moon god Luna.
Okay, these are places we go to within Sarn. Like Act 3 is basically just in Sarn, pretty much. Because I know you go through the sewers, you go through the different temples.
There is an expansive marketplace, a library, and a cathedral built by Emperor Chittus.
See, Yosa is in the library.
Clarissa is at the Sarn encampment, along with Hargan, Maramoa, and Grigor. We learn that Clarissa was once into thaumaturgy herself, and has known Piety since before she took the name Piety. Piety, when she was known as Vinya, used to purchase ingredients for thaumaturgy from Clarissa back in Theopolis. Clarissa was exiled to Rayclast because her father gambled away their money, and the family had to do illegal work to keep fed. In fact, Hargan helped procure Clarissa and her family this work back in Theopolis. Hargan is an Oriath who seems knowledgeable of black market dealings and the underground, past and present. He's quite jovial, but the others warn you he does not give anything without expecting something in return. Maramoa is a Karui, but was exiled from Oriath as well. Maramoa is a warrior, but she is also extremely...
Can you imagine how many empires have actually existed in our reality that we don't even have knowledge about? Maybe because it was outside our conception of time and yeah, like there's no way you can, like, unless you find reason to believe that they existed, i.e. maybe works from their civilization, maybe some stuff they created, how are you gonna know? It's not like we've been keeping history since the dawn of time, which we haven't. We just kept history for as long as we knew to keep history,
knowledgeable about history. Grigor is an Ezamite man who is horribly disfigured from the thaumaturgical experiments Piety practiced on him.
Oh, damn.
He was caught by General Gravisius, one of Piety's blackguards, while trying to find the remains of the fabled Gemling Queen in the Solaris Temple. Gravisius gave Grigor to Piety as his punishment. Clarissa knows General Gravisius as well, from back on Oriath, where he was working for the current ruler, High Templar Dominus. Both Piety and Gravisius are now on Rayclast. Knowing that Piety has Tolman, we exit the Sarn encampment.
So they are both in Rayclast, but they haven't been exiled, right? So they're on Rayclast to fulfill, I assume, orders or of their own volition.
Into the slums to find them. We wander past a locked entrance to the sewers and eventually find the crematorium. The crematorium itself is pretty self-explanatory, although it seems to have prison cells as well. When we enter, we can hear screams, which we can presume are Tolman.
Piety.
We find Piety and her blackguards around a chair which Tolman has been strapped to. We attack Piety, but at the last minute she escapes once again.
Enough of this!
Tolman has unfortunately passed, and we retrieve his bracelet to return to Clarissa as proof we had found him. We return Tolman's bracelet, and Clarissa...
Who brought Tolman back to life in Act 6? I don't even remember. How GGG conceives this concept is amazing. It wouldn't surprise me that they were more on point on where we are in reality than most scientists or historians, even if it's by an abstract concept. Paradoxically speaking, because it's just a game. There is also that. Like, we'll never know. But yeah, it's possible. Like,
gives us keys
it's not
to
impossible.
sewer.
Clarissa did. Yeah, but Clarissa didn't just do it herself. Someone had to have given her, I don't know, the impression that she could bring Toman back to life. And I feel like she mentioned something about that. Or was it just like she went reading up on freaking necromancy and just decided, hey, I can't live without Toman. I don't want to die, so he's got to live.
Where we passed earlier, which can be navigated to get deeper into the city and hopefully find piety. Hargan tells us if we're going through the sewers to watch out for 3 platinum busts that a man named Victario, the people's poet, had stolen from Emperor Chittus during the Purity Rebellion and smuggled into the sewers.
Why does he even want it?
One of the busts is of Marcius Lioni, the Gemling captain defeated by Calm at Lioni's watch.
Look at his shiny eye.
Victario was a popular poet around the time of the Purity Rebellion, who wrote in support of High Templar Vol and the people. He wrote his observations on the power and destruction of the virtue gems that Emperor Chittus so valued. Another fun fact, one of his writings is about Kalisa, the opera singer whose virtue gem became the Star of Rayclass that transformed Merveil. Victario's writings stirred unease in the people about Emperor Chittus and thaumaturgy, which helped Vol and his Purity Rebellion gain support. Victario dubbed Emperor Chittus the Monkey King.
What the fuck was that sound? Was that the poem?
Purity Rebellion. Unease in the people about Emperor Chittus and thaumaturgy, which helped Vol and his Purity Rebellion gain support. Victario dubbed Emperor Chittus the Monkey King, and we can find graffiti all around Sarn condemning the Monkey King, his gemlings, and his shadow. Victario was also
his shadow?
Monkey King, and we can find graffiti all around Sarn condemning the Monkey King, his gemlings, and his shadow.
I guess we'll find out more about Shadow later.
Victario was also known for being a thief.
His poems are beautiful. Oh, you've read them?
So many fun facts. Victario is the one who stole Malagaro's initial black elixir, created from Malagaro's spike and the baleful gem, that we recreate to kill the tree Larata and enter the Val ruins. Victario had operated in these sewers to help the rebellion and spread dissent. In the sewers, we pass a monstrous puckered barricade called the Undying Blockage, which blocks the path to another area of Sarn.
That must have been one goddamn shit.
Exit, which leads us to the Parandus Marketplace. The marketplace is a sprawling, open-air location overrun by the Undying, or undead gemlings, and living statues. When Emperor Chittus Parandus ruled, he was obsessed with...
Maybe the shadow is the reference of the same model that is used in maps. The architect. Do you mean the Val architect? The version that you kill. Well, I guess there are like you kill 2 of them if I remember correctly. It's trying to get to Aziri, right? So I talking about that, or something else.
Thaumaturgy. Many of.
Or are you talking about like the I don't say Atlas tree, but the interconnection of maps. You know, there's the Atlas tree, and then there's where the maps actually are and how they're connected to each other. Do you mean the person who created that system? It is one with a tower that has trap on boss zone. Oh, ancient architects. Let me see. Ancient architect, right? Could it be a boss I haven't seen? This is the boss in Pier. Oh, the guy who runs away through like lots of traps. I remember him. To be fair, he does look like a shadow. Like, we don't know what he is. I guess it's a weapon, so probably not. What kind of weapons are those even?
The nobility of Sarn and the Empire were interested in having virtue gems embedded in their skin or implanted surgically like Brutus.
Yeah, that sounds like a very bad idea.
And both the Empire's army and its civilians took place in this type of thaumaturgy.
Sounds like a very bad idea. I don't know who thought that was okay.
Thaumatic sulfite was leftover material from refining virtue gems and was used in multiple ways, including as a softening agent.
That's a Monkey King.
For the statues seen in Sarn. When the cataclysm struck, Gemling people transformed into these undying, and these statues formed with thaumatic sulfite.
But why that one? Is there any? I mean, because think about it. There's like, there is, I think it's Beach that has a monkey at the end, a giant monkey, like an evolved gorilla or something. Could be that could be the Monkey King. Could also not be.
It came to life. Clearly, the link between the cataclysm and thaumaturgy is strong. The marketplace itself is as old as the city of Sarn and the Empire. While the marketplace isn't officially named the Perandus Marketplace, it was founded by the Perandus family and made the family incredibly wealthy. The Perandus family were influential figures in the Empire even before Chittus Perandus became emperor in 1319 IC. We travel through this marketplace to an area called the Battlefront, in the northeast part of Sarn. The Battlefront connects to the Solaris Temple, the docks, and a bridge to the Ebony Barracks, which has been magically blockaded by the Blackguards. The bridge is guarded by Captain Aurelianus. We kill Aurelianus and take a treasure he was protecting, a ribbon spool of mysterious origin. While many seasoned players will skip straight to the docks at this point, it makes more sense lore-wise to continue on to the Solaris.
Tell me why I was actually gonna say, so you're gonna go to the docks next, right? Like, but in my head I was like, so that's where you're going to.
Temple. The Solaris Temple is one of 2 temples in Sarn, which give worship to the gods Solaris and Lunaris, the sun and the moon. Grigor tells us that the Eternals revered sun and moon as the 2 eyes of their god, the right eye judging Solaris, the left eye merciful Lunaris. We know that Grigor was caught and experimented on by Piety for trying to find the remains of a person called the Gemling Queen in the Solaris Temple. We search the temple and end up finding more than just remains of the Gemling Queen. She is still alive. This Gemling Queen is a woman named Diala. We can clearly see multiple virtue gems protruding from her head and shoulders. Lady Diala has an interesting way of speaking that is poetic and rambling, but her history is absolutely fascinating. Whether her odd behavior is the result of the cataclysm giving her madness, how she's always been, or simply eccentricities from surviving alone for 300 years is hard to say. Lady Diala was one of Emperor Chittus Perandus's mistresses. Apparently, if Chittus got annoyed or tired of a mistress, he would hand that mistress over to his thaumaturgists.
God damn.
Diala was given to Malachi when she lost favor. Malachi, the teacher of both Chevron and Malagaro, embedded the virtue gems into Diala and she became the Gemling Queen. Diala loved Malachi and was willing to do as he asked. Diala tells us that Malachi was massively influential in Chittus Perandus's interest in virtue gems. In Victorio's poems about the Monkey King Chittus, the shadow of the king is referring to Malachi. Maybe not.
There it is. So the shadow of the king is Malachi.
So fun fact. During the Purity Rebellion, Diala killed the poet Victorio's lover, Merlin, as punishment for his writings against the Empire. Malachi told
Did we know any Merlin? Where's the name? Oh, Merlin. Yeah, I don't think I've seen his name in PoE
his
before.
writings against the Empire. Malachi told Chittus that these virtue gems could make citizens of the Eternal Empire more eternal. It was with Chittus's
And to be fair, Malachi makes sense because if you're talking about the Monkey King being the king of the Empire, the Perandus, then his shadow would be the person that he keeps sending his mistresses to freaking Like, bruh,
that
that's kind of
Malachi was
harsh.
able to enlist students
Kind
of
of,
thaumaturgy and have many thaumaturgical experiments take
rough.
place across Rayclast. It is shocking that Diala survived not only the Purity Rebellion, but the Cataclysm without turning into an Undying. We find out that Malachi also survived the Purity Rebellion, even though he had been working so closely with the defeated Emperor Chittus. Apparently, Malachi convinced High Templar Vol, leader of the Purity Rebellion, that he could create a device to put an end to all thaumaturgy. Malachi, through his and his students' studies, had discovered the source of thaumaturgy, an entity which Malachi called the Beast. For over a year, Malachi and Diala stayed in this Solaris temple, working on Malachi's...
Weren't the Val responsible for creating the gems? How would he make a deal with the Val by finding the source of thaumaturgy? Unless it existed there and the Val found it. But then, you know what I think it is? I think it's just been everywhere. Like, people saw it, were fascinated by it, and then they're like, and then they use it for, they were able to harness it, use its power, yada yada, but they never knew where it came from. And then the Val were able to corrupt it, you know, with sacrifices and whatnot, to get even more power from it. Where they mentioned Monkey King, I know we're going to have Monkey in PoE to it feels hyper fantasy at this point. It could be that they hadn't drawn the link yet, because PoE2 wasn't even going to be a game at this point. But there's also the universe where they may not have known PoE2 would exist, but they already know, like, it's like, you know, the end of your story, so and you create a beginning. So then all you have to do is play around with the center until, you know, it fits to that end that you have in your mind.
For over a year, Malachi and Diala stayed in this Solaris temple, working on Malachi's invention called the Rapture device. She tells us that Malachi convinced Vol that the device needed to be taken up north.
Oh, yeah, never mind. He said he wanted to destroy thaumaturgy. That was the deal. Okay.
Rayclast of thaumaturgy. Convinced Vol that the device needed to be taken up north to cleanse Rayclast of thaumaturgy forever. Malachi, Diala, and Vol all traveled to this location with Malachi's Rapture device.
Let me guess. This is what caused the cataclysm.
Asked Diala to sacrifice herself to complete the Rapture. Diala refused, and somehow Malachi's use of the Rapture device has caused the cataclysm that has devastated Rayclast.
Of course.
You will learn more details of Malachi.
This is what happens when you don't live well enough alone.
Malachi and his Rapture device in Act 4, but for now we know Diala the Gemling Queen has survived by hiding out in the Solaris Temple. The ribbon spool we found in the battlefront is her device, used to make the living ribbons we have seen floating around and attacking us. Diala refers to us as not a cockroach because she considers these blackguards to be cockroaches who feed on the corpse of a dead empire. Because we return this dangerous spool to Diala, she tells us that we can destroy the undying blockage in the sewers with thaumatic sulfite if we can bring it to her, the same leftover material from refining virtue gems that animates the sculptures of Sarn. Malachi had shipments of thaumatic sulfite come in via the docks. On the docks, we can find the thaumatic sulfite in question, but we also run into a familiar face, Captain Fairgraves.
Nah, screw you.
It turns out the Allflame didn't fully work when he tried to kill you in Act 1, and he now exists somewhere between human and ghost, still chained to his ship. He would like you to help him die, because once dead, the Allflame will resurrect him again, hopefully correctly. Fairgraves wants you to collect the Decanter Spiritus and the Chittus Plum for his quest. The Decanter Spiritus is an invention by none other than Malachi.
Of course
it is. A vessel that can turn any liquid quasi-apparitional in nature, as Fairgraves describes. Apparently, so Malachi was interested.
Ghosts will be able to drink said liquid if you use the device?
In something called ghost wine, or at least turning regular liquids into something corporeal. The Chittus Plum grows from a tree planted over Emperor Chittus's body. We learn through this quest that on the day Vol and his supporters marched on Sarn, Emperor Chittus was stabbed by Lord Ondar, mayor of Sarn. Emperor Chittus was a gemling himself, with a gem implanted above his heart. Book 5 of the Purity Chronicles says that Chittus, empowered with rage and strength from his virtue gem, sliced Ondar in half before he died.
You must have
The
been
Chittus
pissed.
plums are said to cause great agony and possibly death on consumption. When Fairgraves mixes the Chittus plum's juice into the decanter spiritus, he is able to drink it. But for some reason, the Allflame has gone out, and we can assume that Fairgraves will not be resurrected after this final, agonizing death. We bring Diala the thaumatic sulfite from the docks.
Sucks to be him. So weird that Malachi's build seems to be related to alchemy. Maybe he created currency too. I mean, it's possible, but it's funny. I haven't heard any source of like currency and why it has an effect on items. Like, why does using a chaos orb on an item make it so it could potentially have fire resistance, for example?
Creates infernal talc, which is a substance that can destroy the undying blockage. Diala knows that the sewer route will lead us to the Ebony Barracks, which the Blackguards have been barricading. Artifact. Diala knows about the sewer systems because she was given to Malachi when she asked Emperor Chittus where the town's poop went. Seriously. We head back to the Grand Arena. Grigor urges us to find and kill Piety as revenge for Piety deforming and torturing him. We know from Diala and Marimoa that the Blackguards and Piety have been seen with General Gravicius. Gravicius is the current High Temple.
All orbs look very different. Yep, and let me see if I remember this. PoE wiki. A Vaal orb is kind of like a corrupted chaos orb. Pretty much, like, it looks like it's in agony, like it's being, like it's being sacrificed and shit. But yeah.
His right-hand man. Everyone would like to see General Gravicius dead as well. Gravicius and Piety are working for Dominus on Rayclass, for reasons still unknown, but we now learn that Dominus himself is also on Rayclass, instead of in Oriath. Dominus has set up a thaumaturgical laboratory of his own at the top of the Scepter of God, formerly known as the Chittus Cathedral.
This world is an illusion.
That Dominus gets up and down this tower via elevator, afraid of the monsters inside it, but that the tower itself has been locked. Of course, there is the Eternal Labyrinth here and the lore of Ascension, how Chittus Parandus came to power. Unfortunately, Act 3 is already jam-packed. There's no way we can squash all of that information into any of the Act videos, so I will be doing a separate video about the lab. We use the Infernal Talc to destroy the undying blockage in the sewers and emerge in the Ebony Barracks on the northwest side of Sarn. Farther west is the Lunaris Temple, where we believe Piety is hiding. We see more Blackguards here and run into General Gravicius. Gravicius says some not-so-nice things to us, so it's a pleasure to kill him on everyone's behalf.
Yeah,
Unlike the Solaris Temple, which seemed relatively untouched, the Lunaris Temple has been desecrated by the likes of Piety and other thaumaturgists. The first level has Blackguards in it, but also necromancers and the evidence of thaumaturgical experiments. One such experiment is Cole, who is reminiscent of Brutus from Act 1. Cole was Grigor's bunkmate when captured by Gravicius, a rapist from Oriath exiled as punishment. Cole was also one of Piety's experiments, like Grigor, and his similar build to Brutus suggests Piety may have learned something from her studies of Chevron's texts back in the prison in Act 1.
So Chevron experimented with Brutus and made Brutus, but it's Piety that made this fucker. Okay.
As we descend to the second level, the evidence of Piety's thaumaturgy becomes grotesque. The temple is a horror scene. Everything is covered in blood, literal pools of blood taking up the majority of the floor. Poor, failed experiments are impaled on spears amidst the blood pools. Corpses begin piling up on the floor. As we make our way through this maze, following the ever-growing carnage leading to Piety. Finally, we see her, follow her to the final room, and begin to fight. But who is Piety, really? We have chased her around Wraeclast, trying to stop the...
Yo, she has been a pain in our sides for like literally this act for 4 acts at this point.
havoc she's been
Literally 4 acts.
causing. Piety was once named Vinia and was a prostitute and
Vinia.
thaumaturgist in Oriath.
Oh yeah, that's her
Piety
name.
was once named Vinia and was a prostitute and thaumaturgist in Oriath. We know she used to purchase ingredients for her thaumaturgy from Clarissa. Since the short reign of High Templar Vol, after the success of the Purity Rebellion, thaumaturgy has been outlawed in Oriath. The Purity Rebellion was an attempt to fight the monstrosities the Empire's interest in thaumaturgy had created and to purify Wraeclast and Oriath. The ruling High Templars since the rebellion have also stood against thaumaturgy, and Vinia was condemned to death for her crimes. Vinia was brought before High Templar Dominus, and they shared a dinner so Dominus could hear her confession. After this dinner and discussion,
an odd way to
Vinia
have
was
a
not
trial.
killed. Dominus renamed her Piety and became heavily interested in thaumaturgy himself. We ourselves have seen the power of thaumaturgy in the enemies we fight and the virtue gems we use to kill them. The power of thaumaturgy and its potential uses is highly persuasive. Piety has been ordered to gather all the information
Related to
about
sexual
thaumaturgy she
energy?
can from Wraeclast and bring that information to Dominus. It
Yeah,
was
I can't
only
think
after
of a
Vinia
reason-
became Piety and
Well-
inspired Dominus's interest in thaumaturgy that Oriath criminals
I guess the only reason I can think of regarding that would be going back to becoming so advanced you revert to your carnal nature. Like maybe there's just some energy there that is not, what's the word I'm looking for here? Duplicatable? I don't know. Maybe it's just stronger. I don't know.
became Piety and inspired Dominus's interest in thaumaturgy that Oriath criminals began being
So she's the reason Dominus, bruh. You could have just accepted the execution.
exiled to Wraeclast rather than killed. We can speculate and and inspiring that information
So basically, if our ship didn't wreck, we would have prisoners sent to Dominus for him to experiment on us. Pretty much is how it would have. That's what would have happened.
to Dominus. Information about thaumaturgy she can from Wraeclast and bring that information to Dominus. It was only after Vinia became Piety and inspired Dominus's interest in thaumaturgy that Oriath criminals began being exiled to Wraeclast rather than killed. We can speculate this was so Piety had people to experiment on
Okay,
away
it's
from
Piety that
Oriath to keep her
that was
experiments
experimenting.
secret. Judging from the carnage in the Lunaris Temple, Piety has been doing a lot of experimenting. Piety has been
Definitely
learning
keeping
all she
herself
can
busy.
in particular about Malachi and his works, hence her studies of Chevron, her interest in Malagaro's equipment, and her attempts to find the Gemling Queen in the Solaris Temple. We can now make our way towards the Scepter of God, where Dominus himself likely resides. We now know that Dominus is behind all of Piety's undertakings. The Imperial Gardens lead to the Scepter of God, but also the Sarn Library. The Sarn Library itself is pretty self-explanatory. Inside, however, is a ghost named Siosa, who is attached to a painting of himself. Siosa was a Karui slave who became a scholar and survived the cataclysm by having his spirit bound to this painting. He asks us to find 4 pages written by Isius Perandus, who was translated.
Imagine the reason why in France there's catacombs with as much corpses as these. Be fair, there have just been. I mean, if depending on how long ago they started putting bodies in there, maybe it's just a case of over time it just accumulated, or maybe there's something else. You know, who knows?
Valtex in the library when Siosa was alive. These pages are in the archives, which Siosa cannot reach because he is stuck to a painting.
Why does
We
he want
find
the pages?
the hidden entrance to the archives, begin gathering these golden pages, and find something interesting. The first 3 pages are written by Isius, translating Val texts regarding their interests in thaumaturgy and their communion with something called Nightmare. The 4th page is a direct note to Siosa, complimenting Siosa's humanity and saying that his slavery will cause them to overlook you, a rather cryptic message. At the end of the 4th page, Siosa tells us that there is a note from Malachi to Isius, which reads, "My dearest Isius, I have been enlightened beyond expectation. Your work in translating these artifacts is worthy of the highest recompense, and thus I am delighted to offer you a position in my personal laboratory. Please do not give your escorts any consternation. I would be most pained to see such a precious asset damaged in any way. Malachi." Malachi kidnapped Isius to use him and his knowledge for his work. From what we've seen,
Isius, man, Isius, you poor misguided soul. Why would you think that was anything but trouble with the way this letter is written? With the wording of this letter, why would you think it's anything but trouble?
Happen in the laboratories of other thaumaturgists, we can imagine that Isius did not meet a pleasant end.
You sweet summer child.
Was overlooked for his work in the library because of his background as a Karui slave. Fun fact, the scholar Trinian, the Intellectus Prime who wrote of the Val and founding of the Empire, is an undying stuck in these archives. We leave Siosa and the library to head to our final destination in Act 3, the Scepter of God. But what is the Scepter of God? It used to be the Chittis Cathedral before the Purity Rebellion. It is actually the site on which Emperor Chittis Perandus was betrayed and murdered by Lord Mayor Ondar.
Hence why trees growing out of him or something. Funny how Perandus are the richest family. Imagine maybe they took the damn gold of the Val and are cursed. Maybe. I mean, they're fucking loaded. But then you have... I don't think I've heard of a single good Perandus. I don't think I've heard of one.
High Templar,
because even Janus is inside the Eternal Syndicates.
Dominus has taken over a cathedral once dedicated to the Emperor most embedded in thaumaturgy is no coincidence. Neither Piety nor Dominus actually enter the Scepter of God themselves, but we must enter and fight our way up the tower. The Scepter of God is overrun by gemling creations and creatures. Finally, we get to the top floor and take some stairs to the roof where Dominus waits. Okay. Dominus is the current High Templar ruling Oriath, but he is also the person responsible for our exile from Oriath.
Naturally.
And now we know why. Beyond our crimes, Dominus has been using exiles as fodder for his and Piety's thaumaturgical experiments. The roof has been transformed into a thaumaturgical laboratory like those we have seen before. Dominus and Piety are convinced that the use of thaumaturgy can bring them closer to God and the betterment of mankind overall. By experimenting on the bad exiles, they could give knowledge back to Oriath. This is why Vidnia was spared and became Piety, for giving Dominus the vision of leadership through thaumaturgy. Dominus still sees himself as a man of religion, utilizing the tools of thaumaturgy rather than scorning them. Dominus begins the fight relatively normally, using powerful magics to attack us. He screams at us about the power of God, such as, "Shrink not from God," or "the touch of God." When it seems we've killed him, he shouts, "This world is an illusion," and resurrects in a monstrous form, a giant bug writhing from the ground with the same mask Dominus had been wearing. Here we witness the true face of thaumaturgy, God. On killing High Templar Dominus, Diala appears to congratulate us for embracing death and generously sharing it with those that stood in our way. She opens the door to the aqueduct, a channel built to move water, and we follow this aqueduct's path to begin Act 4. Is a demon from beyond?
Act 4 begins. But I wonder why Dominus turned into a demon. Is it because of all the experiments he's had? Is it him being too weak to control some virtue gem? Like, Did he make some deal with it that if he died, you know, she would take his soul? Or like what? Oh, he's a hypocrite? Lol. Okay, give me a second. Give me like 1 minute. I need to go get a drink. Okay, I'm back. Jeez. The demon from beyond, the corruption. I think it. I think I think it could be an illusion within an illusion because of this voice line of Dominus. Maybe he will return eventually. I wouldn't be surprised if he's serious for some reason but cannot remember. In an alternate reality or temporality. You think he'll return? Dominus. Hmm. Do I have any reason to believe he could return? To be fair, we killed Piety and she came back but as a demon. In kind of the same way that Dominus came back a demon. Right? Because like she was deformed, she had those arms, yada yada. And if we go by the logic that what's her face Dominus was that beast, and that beast did not just like consume Dominus, but that was actually Dominus that came. It's just a different form. Then that would mean there should be no resurrecting him, in theory, because I don't think once Piety dies to Maligaru, or no, to Malachi rather, I don't think once Piety dies to Malachi, she's resurrectable again. Like even if Malachi wanted to, I don't think he could.
Hello again, Exile. Welcome to another video in Noodle's complete lore series. This video covers Act 4. So let's begin. After defeating High Templar Dominus on the roof of the Scepter of God, we leave Sarn via the aqueducts to the north. We end up in Highgate, which was a mining town during the Empire's existence. It sits at the base of the Asmiri mountain ranges, in particular Mount Veruso. From the beginning of the Eternal Empire, mountain ranges, in particular
Laraval, the Vastiri Plains, which will end up in like Act 9 or something. Mount Vastiri, the Mantle, Chitos River, Frisian Forest,
Mount Veruso. From the beginning of the Eternal Empire, the first Emperor Veruso has used mines in these mountains to seal away the virtue gems of the Val that had been left around Rayclass after the fall of the Val in 400 BIC. During Emperor Chittus Priandus' reign, starting in 1319 IC, the Eternal Empire used its Karui, Ezamite, and Mariketh slaves to mine the mountains near Highgate for these virtue gems. Highgate is inhabited by the Mariketh.
So this is how they've been getting their virtue gems. They've just been mining them. But who put them in the ground?
The Mariketh are a matriarchal society native to the Vastiri Plains to the east. During the Purity Rebellion, High Templar Vol entreated the Mariketh to join the rebellion to fight the slavery of the Eternal Empire, and to take down a man named General Titusius, who worked for Emperor Chittus specifically to hold the Vastiri Plains from the conquered Mariketh. Titusius was known as the Scourge of the Mariketh. The Mariketh's leader at that time was Sekema Deshret, and we will discuss Titusius and Deshret in detail later. But after the success of Vol's Purity Rebellion, Deshret
is who we face in Act 9, if I remember correctly. Or did we? I think so. The shadow we face that wears an armor in that whirlwind arena.
And her Akara, which means tribe, stayed in Highgate specifically to guard these mined mountains. Deshret sealed off the mines so that nothing could enter or escape them. The NPCs of Highgate are Oyun, Kira, and Tasuni, all Mariketh, and a couple named Pitaris and Vanya. Diala, the Gemling Queen, has joined us.
Oh look, Navali.
And a couple named Pitaris and Vanya. Diala.
Fun fact: for the longest time,
all Mariketh, and a couple named.
I thought they were like conjoined people. Like for the longest time, I think I was like 3 seasons in when I realized that they were a couple just leaning on each other. But like, I can't tell you how long I believe they were conjoined or something.
Pitaris and Vanya. Diala, the Gemling Queen, has joined us from Sarn. Oyun is the current Sekema, or leader, of the Mariketh. Kira is a descendant of Deshret, and a Dakara, meaning warrior of the tribe. Tasuni is her brother, a blind man who suffers from strange visions. Tasuni was born
Divination
blind,
cards.
and it is Mariketh tradition to discard any weak or disfigured children, much like Spartans. He was left out in the Vistiri Plains after his birth to die, but somehow survived, which had never previously happened. Thus, he is allowed to live with the tribe. Tasuni seems to have communion with the beast, or nightmare, that Malachi sought, and that the Val had written about. Pataris was a captain of the Blackguards under Dominus and Piety. Vanya was a witch exiled from Oriath, imprisoned and soon to be experimented on by Piety. Pataris let Vanya free, and they escaped together to Highgate. Diala tells us that Malachi's rapture device, the device High Templar Vol allowed Malachi to create to destroy thaumaturgy, is within the sealed mines under Mount Veruso. Vol, Malachi, and Diala all traveled to Highgate with the rapture device.
You know one thing I appreciate? Watching this, going through the campaign, I'm going to have a greater appreciation for the lore that I am not listening to. You know, I may be unrepentant in that I'm probably never going to listen to that. But I'll have a greater appreciation for the places we are going to, because I will understand why I, as the exile, am traveling through this route and going to where I'm going to, you know.
Vol, Malachi, and Diala all traveled to Highgate with the rapture device and took it down into the mines to use on this entity called the Beast, which Malachi claimed was the source of all thaumaturgy. Malachi entered the lair of the Beast by himself, and his communion with the Beast and its powers of nightmare was the cause of the Cataclysm in 1336 IC. As we've seen, the Cataclysm killed many, caused others to go mad, and reanimated the dead. Vol was no exception, and he turned into a bloodthirsty, monstrous version of himself.
Yeah.
Oyen tells us that he still wanders around the Dried Lake off of Highgate. The Dried Lake was once a large natural lake, but it has been siphoned out to the city of Sarn via the aqueducts we traveled along. The undead Vol has been terrorizing the Mariketh in Highgate since the Cataclysm,
So why did they
from
dry
his
it
new
up?
home in this Dried Lake. Vol stands by his confession. I vowed to care for this empire with my eyes open. I lied to my people. I lied to myself. Blinded by my lust for purity, I placed my faith in the most corrupt of men. I have failed you, my empire of purity. Do not forgive me, but
So this
please,
means-
I beg of you, survive me.
This means that Malachi did what he did intentionally, like, you know, the cataclysm was intentional, or at least it wasn't to destroy, obviously.
Vol was the leader of the Purity Rebellion before the Cataclysm, but before he became the Emperor after this Purity Rebellion, he was the High Templar. The High Templars are a religious order of Oriath. The Empire, when founded by Tarkus Veruso, believed in banning and burying all thaumaturgy, past or present, but Emperor Chittus Perandus was heavily invested in thaumaturgy. The High Templars believe in purity, and Vol in particular believed that purity was the opposite of the thaumaturgy rampant under the reign of Emperor Chittus. In his time, High Templar Vol was seen as a champion of freedom and justice. He was a hero to the common folk and those oppressed by the Empire. His reasons for the Purity Rebellion were noble: to save humanity from unchecked power, political or thaumaturgical. The Mariketh had been terrorized by a Gemling general named Hector Titusius. Titusius's duty was to control the Vastiri Plains, the native land of the Mariketh, and keep it secured for
Titusius, is that the horse guy that was in Act 9 that you have to get the calendar or something
to
from?
control the Vastiri Plains, the native land of the Mariketh, and keep it secured for the Empire. Titusius was a virtue gem enthusiast, allowing Malachi to replace every joint in his body with implanted virtue gems.
God
He was
damn.
particularly violent towards the Mariketh, and so Vol promised to help the Mariketh, led by Sekema Deshret, take down Titusius. Vol and his operatives discovered Imperial spies within the Mariketh and gave them false information about Ameriketh uprising, knowing the info would get back to Titusius. Titusius led his legion to the false location where Deshret and her Akara were waiting. The Mariketh were able to track the dust storms of the Vastiri plain, and they planned a day in which this location would be hit by a fierce storm. Deshret and her Akara used the cover of the dust storm to their advantage as they killed Titusius's entire Gemling legion. It is said that Deshret skinned Titusius and used his skin as her Roa saddle. Thus, High Templar Vol helped the Mariketh defeat their main foe and reclaim their homelands.
That's kind of brutal.
Deshret and the Mariketh helped Vol succeed in his purity rebellion against Chittus and the Empire. After the cataclysm, many people in Wraithos were killed, turned, or brought back to life. Deshret had seen many of these monstrosities, and she was aware that the source of the devastation came from within the mines under Highgate. She sealed the mines and commanded her Akara to remain to guard them. Vol himself ended up as an undead monster. After escorting Malachi and the Rapture device to the mines of Mount Veruso, the undead Vol wandered to the dried lake, violent and crazed, and killed Deshret himself. Deshret carried a banner with her, which was the key to opening the sealed-off mines. Because of Vol's terrible power, the rest of her Akara have stayed away from the dried lake. It's sad to think that the leader of the Purity Rebellion was turned into a thaumaturgical nightmare himself, and killed an ally he'd worked with so closely. To open the mines, we must go to the dried lake and kill the undead High Templar Vol. He drops Deshret's banner, which will allow us to open the mines. In Act 1, we learn that after the Cataclysm, Kaum began having mines, Templar Vol.
Is that what we can see
him wearing? He drops Deshret's banner, which
this thing here? I assume so.
Will allow us to open the mines. In Act 1, we learn that after the Cataclysm, Kaum began having visions he believed were from Tukohama to lead his people to an offering that will save the Karui. He led 500 of his greatest warriors north into Rayclast, and the final destination of this group was in the mines below Mount Veruso. Deshret witnessed Kaum and his Karui disappear into the mines, some years before she sealed them. Tasuni is able to hear the beast, and we know from Diala that Malachi's destination with the Rapture device was inside the mines. But Tasuni claims that he also hears the spirit of Deshret herself deep within the mines. We open the seal with Deshret's banner and begin our descent into Mount Veruso. The mines are littered with terrifying creatures, monsters of melded flesh, likely mutated from the thaumaturgical waste, and tears of Magi, aka virtue gems, buried within. There are 3 levels of the mines. Upon entering the mines, the entire system shakes.
Other than the bats, of course, are supposed to be humans? With the gray skin and... oh wow.
Seemingly in anticipation of our arrival. On the 2nd level, we are able to find the spirit of Deshret, even though Deshret did not physically die in the mines. Somehow, her spirit had been trapped down in the mines since her death. We free her from the grasp of a ghostly hand and continue into the mines.
So that's how Deshret's spirit got there.
The 3rd level is called the Crystal Mines, and we can see this is where many of the virtue gems...
Discord DM? Alright, give me a second. Let me see. Lol. How'd you get Mage Blood? What were you doing? Don't tell me you were like Chance Orbian heavy belts or something. That's 10, by the way. You mean this was your 10th orb? If you're spending your orbs of like, what's it called? Is it orbs of binding? You must have been pretty bored. Now if only you could get this kind of luck on league starts. If only.
Were likely stored, or perhaps just what's left after Emperor Chittis sent his Karui, Mariketh, and Ezemite
Cleaning up
slaves.
your stash? So you're telling me your standard stash tab is clean? Huh. Could never be me. Good luck with your luckless league starts. I feel for you. On my luck, well, I don't even know if I have any luck to begin with, but if I do, I haven't spent it. So ha ha ha.
To mine for gems in here. At the end of these crystal mines, we find Diala waiting for us, standing next to the Rapture device and 2 portals. The 2 portals next to Diala are called Kaum's Dream and Duresso's Dream, and Diala tells us that Malachi lured both the spirits of Kaum and Duresso here for his own purposes. The voice that called to Kaum under the guise of Tukahama was actually Malachi using the beast's power of nightmare. Kaum and Duresso's spirits are now both trapped here.
Okay, that's after the cataclysm. Okay, so after the cataclysm, he could control the beasts to give them nightmares or visions to come here. Okay.
Each eternally reliving the peak of emotions. For Kaum, it is fury, and for Duresso, it is desire. Kaum's Dream takes us to our first map-like instance. It is a recreation of the path which Kaum took his 500 best warriors on in search of Tukahama's offering for the Karui. Tukahama is the warrior god of the Karui. Legend has it that the Karui were peaceful farmers before Tukahama put stone axes in their hands and the hunger for conquest in their bellies. Kaum calls himself a son of Tukahama and has extreme reverence for the traditions and gods of his Karui ancestry. As we travel farther on the path Kaum took, we read on carvings that Kaum believed his warriors were crushing the servants of Kitava, the Karui god of hunger, and took pride that he let not one of his 500 fall as they traveled. But when Kaum reached what he believed was Tukahama, it asked him to kill his 500 warriors as a sacrifice, and Kaum did so willingly. We crushed the servants of Kitava beneath our heels as we marched across the land. I allowed not one of my 500 to fall. We descended into the heart of Rayclast, and there he came to me. Tukahama. He asked of me a sacrifice. I gave it willingly. My axe fell 500 times, the jade drinking its fill of Karui blood. Tukahama was pleased. This pinnacle of Kaum's fury is what Kaum's Dream represents. When we reach Kaum and kill him, we receive the Eye of Fury and bring it back to Diala. The second portal takes us to Duresso's Dream, which is a reincarnation of the Grand Arena of Sarn, where Duresso fought when he was alive. Unlike Kaum, it is unclear whether Duresso physically entered the mines, but as we've seen with Deshret, one does not have to physically die in the mines to have their spirit trapped here by nightmare. Duresso's Dream shows us his desires from a young age to become the greatest gladiator in the Empire, but it also chronicles the story of how he met Merveil. We killed Merveil in Act 1. A woman transformed into a monstrous and crazed siren by a necklace called the Star of Rayclast. This necklace was a gift from Duresso, and he left Merveil in the middle of the night to find a cure for her transformation.
But
we know Duresso never successfully found a cure, but now it seems Duresso's spirit was captured by Nightmare and forced to relive this desire for glory and his wife forever. When we slay Duresso, we receive the Eye of Desire and bring it back to Diala. After we brought Diala both the Eye and received the Eye.
It's a cruel joke that man was born with more intent than life.
Eye of Desire and bring it back to Diala. After we brought Diala both the Eye of Fury and of Desire, she tells us we shall be able to activate Malachi's Rapture device. When Malachi first used the Rapture device to find the beast, he asked Diala to sacrifice herself to power the device.
And she
Whether
said
or not
no.
this was actually necessary is not yet clear. Either way, Diala now willingly gives herself to the Rapture device to blow open an entrance into the core of the
She sacrifices herself here? I didn't know Diala dies.
beast. When the device activates, the gems embedded in Diala across her head and body are ripped from her to power the machine. Before us stands a shriveled husk of a woman, looking how we might expect a 300-year-old woman to appear.
Oh, so that's why she becomes that. So so it ripped the lady out of her name.
Woman, looking how we might expect a 300-year-old woman to appear. Diala ushers us
Okay, I guess
onward
she doesn't
into what
die
is called the
in that
Belly
case.
of the Beast. This Belly of the Beast is a path of literal entrails. Where the beast begins and ends, it is hard to say, but it seems we have literally entered the insides of this beast, the nightmare that Malachi resides in and Piety sought. As we travel through the intestines, we end up finding an old friend reborn under the influence of nightmare. Piety, who we killed in Act 3, has been found and resurrected as a nightmare version of herself.
That's like, you see her reaction, who we killed. It's like we saw her die. Like, that's exactly my reaction. The first time I realized Piety kept coming back. From the first time you tried to kill her in Act 2 to when you do kill her in Act 4 to fucking, like, she just keeps coming back.
And stands before us in the belly of the beast.
Like, I still remember the first time I played through the campaign and I was like, why do I keep hearing about Piety? Like, because I wasn't paying attention at that point because I had already tried listening to the lore and I got bored the very first time I tried. So this time I was like, okay, I'm not going to listen to the lore, I'm just going to blast through it. And then like, okay, kill Piety, be Piety or kill her, and she escapes in Act 2. Like, okay, cool. Act 4, that's cool, you know. Now we actually killed her, we see her die. Damn you, you know, she says she's dead, right? And then we'll come here and like kill Piety again, and then you beat her here and she doesn't die. She's like, I'm back to my senses. Like, no, couldn't you have been back to your senses like two deaths ago?
Works of Malachi and his students for so long. Now Malachi and the beast have sought out the spirit of Piety. Piety has become similar to one of the experiments she performed on so many exiles of Oriath. She has been horribly mutated, but when we fight and kill her, she returns to her previous and familiar form. Piety tells us that Malachi's students, Chevron, Malagaro...
Like, I feel like the first time I played this, I didn't even realize it was the same Piety. I thought maybe that was just like a title or something until I saw this form and I'm like, you bitch, why don't you just die?
A witch named Doedre were the ones to transform Chevron, Malagaro, and a witch named Doedre were the ones to transform her. Piety, after being the victim of the type of experiments she herself performed, is now wanting to take down Malachi.
I just say
While she reveres the power of the beast, she sees now that Malachi's vision is warped. She tells us that she does not regret what she sought to do, only how she did it. And she says, prior to meeting Malagaro, Chevron, and Doedre, I rather admired them. Their work, their accomplishments, sheer genius. As it turns out, genius is something better appreciated from afar.
Yes.
Deshret's spirit was also a puppet of Malachi's students, tortured continuously by them, but never succumbing to their torture, hence remaining as a spirit rather than a monstrous recreation.
Kudos to Deshret. Like, that's some willpower right there. That's some insane willpower.
There are writings left by Malachi, and through them we find out Malachi had never wanted or needed Diala to sacrifice herself for the Rapture device to work. Malachi planned to enter the beast and control it on his own, and he wanted Diala to leave and escape the cataclysm he knew would happen. So he lied to Vol and Diala about his true intentions with the Rapture device. All of Malachi's work was leading...
So he wanted Diala to live? Like, so he was playing her? Because he knew she wouldn't kill herself, so
to his entering and control with the Rapture device. All of Malachi's work was leading to his entering and controlling the beast, the nightmare, the source of thaumaturgy in the world. Piety waits for us by the entrance to the Black Core, where Malachi resides. Apparently, Malachi has resurrected his 3 students to guard 3 of his organs. These organs are what keep Malachi tied to mortality, rather than being completely absorbed by the beast. Even though Vol killed and burned Malagaro and Doedre after the Purity Rebellion, and Chevron was killed by Brutus, Malachi was able to resurrect them for his purposes. We have already seen the works of Malagaro and Chevron, but there is the 3rd student we haven't yet encountered named Doedre. Doedre Darktongue was a spellcaster and student of the Inquisitor Malagaro. Malagaro himself removed Doedre's tongue, giving her the nickname Darktongue. Deirdre may be the most sick and depraved of Malachi's students. She was interested in taking people apart to find the wonders of the universe,
like that doesn't
and
surprise
used
me at
her
all.
own body for thaumaturgical experiments. Deirdre was a fan of curses and transmogrification, as we can see from our battle with her for Malachi's lungs, in which she appears as a horrifying, bloated apparition. We kill Chevron and Malagaro for the remaining organs, bring them to Piety to open up the Black Core and face Malachi.
Double corrupting and poof. What if you didn't poof? Then you know you're triply screwed.
Malachi is the inspiration for Piety's pursuits, and the dire state of Rayclast is due to the cataclysm Malachi caused. During Emperor Chittus Pyrrhandus' reign, Malachi was an ambitious thaumaturgist. He studied the works of the ancient Val alongside Isius Pyrrhandus, whose writings we recovered for Ciosa in the Sarn Library. In these writings, Isius translated texts from Doriani.
Is this why Isius was so hell-bent on learning thaumaturgy? Because he knew he had deep knowledge on it with Malachi, but Malachi somehow outsmarted him or something?
Of the Val, who spoke of the beast Malachi now resides within.
We both know you would. You can be guaranteed to have the worst luck in the world, and you would still play it. You can't help it. None of us can. It can be classified as an addiction at this point. It's okay. You're not alone. We're in this together. We're all gonna play no matter what our luck is.
Malachi was smart and manipulative, and his rediscovery of ancient knowledge and technology previously buried and forgotten swayed Chittus Pyrrhandus to the powers of thaumaturgy.
So that's what happened.
It was Malachi who began the trend of implanting virtue gems into people, which spawned the Gemling Legion.
So my guy was like the
Malachi
the
convinced
final
Emperor
boss.
Chittus that not only would virtue gems make his army and citizens the most powerful and most eternal, but that his creations would be ultra loyal to Chittus, that the heart of each soldier beats in time with the heart of his emperor. If the emperor wishes that beat to stop, it stops. And this was true, for Malachi had implanted above Chittus's heart a virtue gem that would connect him to all of his Gemling Legion. This is why the majority of Gemlings turned into the Undying when Emperor Chittus was slain in 1334 during the Purity Rebellion. According to Malachi's own journals, the first time Malachi came in physical contact with a virtue gem, he began to have dreams where he spoke with the beast. He called these dreams lessons cloaked in nightmare, and says these dreams are the source of all his ideas for thaumaturgical experiments. The beast has been given many names throughout history, including Beast, Nightmare, and Darkness. According to Tasuni, Malachi is the one who knew.
You would think that would be reason enough to stay the fuck away from it, but apparently not. Apparently, you'd be wrong.
Who the beast's true name and understood its impenetrable nature. Malachi's ultimate pursuit was to control the beast because it is the source of all thaumaturgy. In Act 3, Grigor tells us, "When Piety was experimenting on me, I met a presence. Intelligence, power, immensity beyond the limits of my pitiable mortal senses. I heard Piety speak to her lackeys of the beast. It is the source of her thaumaturgy and the object of her ambitions. I believe Piety's beast and that dark entity are one and the same. It would not be a stretch of reason to consider the beast the source of all malformation in Rayclast." A secondary pursuit was to create the perfect gemling, which is where Diala comes in. Since Malachi was the only one to understand the beast and know it was the source of thaumaturgy, he was able to convince Vol and trick Diala into believing that Malachi could and would kill the beast to end thaumaturgy. Malachi wants to remake the world in the image of Nightmare. Malachi, with the beast's power, is able to influence the outside world and has since the Cataclysm.
I mean, to be fair, I think I was able to deduce something along those lines from his voice lines, because he's talking about like putting you to bed, like when he's he's fighting the witch, wanting to put you to bed or something like that.
Some weird since the Cataclysm. We enter the black core of the beast with Piety, who transforms multiple times between her original self and Malachi's nightmare version of her, under his control. Eventually, she is killed, and we follow Malachi into the heart of the beast itself. Once we slay Malachi, it seems we have slain the beast as well. Such is their connection at this point. Perhaps Malachi sought immortality, but his decision to keep his organs, a sentimental mistake, allows us to kill him and the beast that has so long influenced the world with its power of nightmare. We return to Highgate,
this is how he used
where
to
we
die
are
before.
congratulated by most on our bravery for killing the beast that caused the cataclysm. Everyone but Tasuni. While Tasuni tells us of a path to Oriath that is opened on the mountaintop, he seems less than enthused at the death of the beast. With this foreboding in mind, we make our way to a portal to Oriath. Thank you so much.
Off to Oriath we go, where we fight Kitava.
Welcome back.
You know, that kind of makes sense why Act 5 is kind of different. I've always wondered where the fuck the portal is taking us. Thoughts so far? Let me think. I mean, thoughts so far it can be very confusing. It throws a lot of names at you real quick, but so long as you understand the main focus of, or the main, I guess I would say, antagonist of the story being told / protagonist, you're able to kind of keep track, and you don't really need to know. Like for me, I'm not actually keeping track of every single name that's been thrown out there, but I am trying. Oh, sorry, hit the mic. I am trying to keep my mind, like I'm trying to understand the events that happened, like the cataclysm, the Malachi trying to use the device on the beast, the Purity War, what it was for, the major players in said war, and just like general locations that I can relate to, that can link to something through playing the game, stuff like that. But my thoughts so far is it's actually pretty good. I think it's kind of complicated to a degree where if it wasn't just being spoon fed to me right now, I would never have as clear of a picture, and I would genuinely be confused that something is happening, even if I would just follow voice lines. For how interesting is it? It's pretty cool. I would give it, if it's like just pure entertainment, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It does have the elements where it makes you think, and how a lot of the stories are told from the perspective of someone. I like that, because like I said, like in some of the stories they talk about the Monkey King and the shadow of the king, and at the time you don't know who that is, but eventually you will. Like, it's there, but it hasn't been revealed yet, and these are told through the recollections of like people, or through journals or whatever else. I think it's pretty cool so far. I'm getting a better appreciation for the acts and for the places that the exile has to travel through. Not so much the NPCs who just meet some random guy, see he's strong, and is like, you know what, take. I don't know why I think you can clear the mines, but I'm going to let you break that seal and go ahead and try. I don't know why I think you can kill the darkness that even that general, whatever, could not kill with his entire army, but I'll tell you exactly how to do it. I don't know how smart the NPCs are, but like everyone else, I get it. So I get it. We've proven that we are strong. We did quests, yada yada, but I do not know that we've proven that we are that strong. What up, Goliano? How you doing? Welcome. We are just getting to Act 5 in the lore series, and I was giving my thoughts so far. Act 5, we might do Act 5, and if we have time, Act 6 today. I don't actually think we're gonna make it to Act 10 before League starts, unless I start streaming early. But with how long I plan to stream, I don't know that I plan to stream early because I need to conserve my strength until closer to League start time. That being said, I should be live like an hour before League starts. So like 30 minutes to an hour before League start, I should be live with everything ready to go. But yeah, let's start Act 5 so we can potentially sneak in Act 6. How long is Act 5? 15 minutes. We have 35 minutes. It should just be enough with how much I talk during the acts or during the lore. And then Act 6 is 17. Yeah, this might, it would be very tight to even, we'll see how quick we get through Act 5.
Exiled.
Maybe I'll try to keep my thoughts to, I won't say a minimum because I'm not good at that. But I'll try to interrupt it less, and maybe I can just talk while it's playing. But then I feel like you guys just hear mumbling, or it might not be nearly as clear. So I don't know about that, right? I don't know how it sounds when I talk while it's playing.
To another video in Noodle's complete lore series. This video covers
Act
5 and our return to Oriath. Let's get started. At the end of Act 4, we travel to the top of Mount Veruso and find a large device called the Resonator that activates a
By the way,
portal to
Arcane,
Oriath.
are you going to be streaming League Star tomorrow, or are you going to be chilling in chats? What's your League Star plan?
This device was left by Dominus, and is how Piety and Dominus were able to travel between Rayclast and Oriath without raising suspicion. We enter the portal and end up in the slave pens of Theopolis, capital city of Oriath.
Not sure yet?
As we heard from Maramoa in Sarn and the Marikath of Highgate, Oriath has continued the Empire's tradition of enslaving the Karui, Marikath, and Ezamites. The Oriath slave enforcers attack us as we make our way through the pens, but we also see slaves who are friendly and also fighting these enemies. All across the ground you can see corpses and grates where hands desperately reach out to escape. A slave rebellion has begun. We fight our way through the pens until we come across Overseer Crow. When we kill him, a ladder is lowered from above, allowing us to escape the rebellion in the pens to the Overseer's Tower. The Overseer's Tower was once run by the Oriath, who controlled and sold
Probably be in chats. All right. I mean, I'll be happy to have you.
the slaves.
How long do you think you're gonna be playing for?
Below, but it is now the refuge of a strange mixed group of survivors of the rebellion. Hiding in the tower are Utula, Lani, and Valenta. Utula is a Karui who has been a slave in Oriath. He started the slave rebellion we just fought through in the name of the Karui god Kitava, who Utula calls the Tormented One. Utula says Kitava, the immortal slave, understands our plight like no other. In regards to the slaves he has rallied into rebellion.
I would not trust you.
Lani is a half
Kitava.
Karui, half Oriath woman. She was raised as an Oriath and not a Karui slave, but in this rebellion she sided with the Karui slaves and
the
fought
Karui
two
basically
overseers
won.
herself, which left her
Maybe because you
mortally
won?
wounded. Lani credits Valenta with saving her life. Valenta is an Oriath woman who specializes in medicine. She was actually experimenting on the Karui slaves before the rebellion. But when she saved Lani's life, Lani and
Usually till yellows when I do. You're gonna be playing till yellow maps? Where am I typically in progression when I stop streaming? I think I also get to yellow maps before, like most times I get to yellow maps if I can, and if I can't, then probably much before then. But I think more times than not I get to yellow maps,
insisted that
or
Valenta be
worst case
allowed
scenario
to
white
live.
maps.
Valenta and Piety worked for Dominus together. And Valenta says, Piety and I have devoted ourselves to the betterment of the human condition. As for our methods, Piety had a saying that summed it up nicely. Would you consider the feelings of the stones when constructing a glorious cathedral in the name of God? When Piety left for Rayclast, Valenta was furious, as Valenta felt she had devoted her life and her work to Piety's vision. She created a tool called the Miasmeter, which she used to keep an eye on Rayclast, particularly Piety. Valenta tells us that through this instrument she heard the beast scream as it died, and she knows it was our doing. Valenta had to leave the
Interesting.
miasmeter behind during the slave rebellion, and she wants us to retrieve it. Lani wants us to find and kill Justicar Casticus, the man who supplied Karui slaves to Valenta for her experiments. We leave the tower to the control blocks, which is slaves to.
Wait, what?
Wants us to find and kill Justicar Casticus,
Who did
the
what?
man who supplied Karui slaves to Valenta for her experiments.
So Valenta was doing experiments, but she was allowed to live after this rebellion. Why?
We leave the tower to the control blocks
Because she saved the half Oriathan, half
slaves. We travel through this maze
Karui?
of a slave pen and find Valenta's miasmeter, and also run into Justicar Casticus.
Like we all did this being the aftermath of like her experiments? Why the fuck is she alive?
Used to experiment on slaves.
Look at.
We travel.
I mean,
through
granted
this
there was a
maze of
rebellion, but
slave
like,
pen and find
look at these
Valenta's miasmeter,
instruments.
and also run into Justicar Casticus, who Valenta used to work alongside. Justicar Casticus is a member of the Templars, which High Templar Dominus used to lead. We kill Justicar Casticus and make our way out of the control blocks into the large open area of the Oriath Square, Center Theopolis. This square connects to every major area of Theopolis.
So this
These
is
areas
so.
include
This
the
is
Templar
Theopolis.
Courts, the
Interesting.
Cathedral, the Ossuary, and the Reliquary. The Templars have been their own power in Oriath since before the Purity Rebellion, but the founding of Oriath itself is unclear. A man named Templar Devaro, a contemporary under High Templar Dominus, studied artifacts brought from Rayclass to Oriath about the Val. Through his research, there is evidence that the Val were on Oriath as well. Before now, Oriath was untouched by the cataclysm that plagued Rayclass, but there has clearly been unrest. The death of High Templar Dominus seems to be a partial catalyst for this change, but something else seems to be motivating this rebellion. The Templar Courts and the Chamber of Innocence are the center stronghold for the Templars. The Templars are a religious order, and as we make our way through the courts to the inner chambers, we learn about their god, Innocence. Innocence is an ancient god, and in the Chamber of Innocence we read his origins on the ornate stained glass. Innocence and Sin are brother gods from the Mother of Two. The story says that Innocence listened to their mother and was rewarded for his virtuous nature.
Just depends on how hard I feel like going. Really, basically, I'm gonna just go until I am so tired that I can't stand being awake / on my seats, or I feel like jittery just being in the state I am. That is typically when I stop. Is it healthy? Probably not. But that is typically when I stop.
Sin stole.
Where I'm just like I just don't want to be here. Like I just don't want to be in my current state anymore. Cause like I have moments during, like I still remember my longest stream so far. I had moments where I was almost falling asleep, and then those moments would pass, and I would have like my second wind where I'd be very awake again, and this would repeat after like a few hours, and then it happens again, and then I catch up and yada yada. But then when I got to like that 19, 20 hour mark, it's like my body just said, nah, G, we're done. I don't want to be awake anymore. I don't want to be here right now. that was how my body felt. Just go to bed and wake up early to play. You see, the thing about how my body works is I always wake up early. So if I go to bed early, I'm just gonna sleep for longer. But if I stay up later, then I sleep for a shorter amount of time. Plus, I actually wanted to see how long I could stream. So it was like a bit of both. Like just, you know. Last league starts for Necropolis, I lasted like 16 hours or something. And I think that was honestly comfortable for me, where I didn't mind. Like I was obviously tired and all that, but I wasn't. I hadn't gotten to the point I was for Total's launch, because it was Total's Total's launch was it Total's launch I spent 19 hours? You know, now that I think about it, I think Total might have been 16 hours, and I think Necropolis was 19 hours. But I felt much better for Necropolis's 19 hours than I felt for Total's 16. I think. You know, everything I just said, I forgot a league, and that's Crucible. Crucible was the league I think I streamed 8 hours, and then I went to bed, and then I continued in the morning. I think that was Crucible. Because I know there was a league like that, and I know I didn't play Sanctum's League Starts.
And lied, and so Innocence told the mother that sin was beyond rule and redemption, and sin was burned to ash. Mankind breathed in the ash.
Wait, what? I feel like I missed something.
The mother of
yeah, brother gods.
Innocence and sin are brother gods from the mother of two. The story says that Innocence listened to their mother and was rewarded for his virtuous nature. The story says that Innocence listened to their mother and was rewarded for his virtuous nature.
Okay.
Sin stole and lied, and so Innocence told the mother that sin was beyond rule and redemption, and sin was burned to ash. Mankind breathed in the ash of sin, and sin took root in the bodies of men and women and children. Innocence swore to burn all traces of sin in the world. No matter where the ashes of sin fell, his purifying flames would rise to meet them. Yet
sin had to be the one to resurrect him and
created a weapon called
save the world, pretty much,
and bestowed it to the first High Templar named Maximus.
The fucking irony. Hard to stop when you hit maps too, because you can just keep putting them in and progging. Yep, I think the hardest part of maps, where you start, like, where I start slowing down the most, is when I get to the point where I'm running out of unique maps to do to further progress my Atlas, and now I have to spend time thinking about what the next step is to get those new maps, like, you know, buying from Kyrak, planning out how I'm going to buy from Kyrak and run them, so I can then leverage my resets and all of that. Like, when I'm planning all of that, I feel like that downtime is when it's like when the tiredness creeps in. But when you just get to maps and you're blasting, you're getting fresh Atlas points. Every single map is a new map, and all of that feels so good. Especially when you start dropping currency that actually matters. Like when you're no longer just dropping freaking blacksmith whetstones, you know?
This weapon was part of Innocence himself, and thus imbued with his essence. The Templars have worshipped Innocence and the idea of purifying mankind of sin ever since their inception.
Which is why the Templar says he's going to like the god got corrupt, so he's going to purify him, and then kills Innocence like, what in the heavens have I done, or something like that. Yeah, that is the time you get hyped. That is when it's like when you're just getting non-stop Atlas points. By the way, Arcane, why did you say you were considering not going for the 20 point node? That node is OP for league starts. I can't understand why not wanting to get it, unless you plan on using Scarabs early, which I don't see a point in, unless it's like cartography Scarabs, which you'll probably just get more by putting those 20 points into getting more maps.
Both High Templar Vol and High Templar Dominus held the same seat, yet they had very different standards of purity. Vol, as we saw in his Purity Rebellion, believed all thaumaturgy was evil and planned to destroy the root of it. Dominus saw thaumaturgy as a way to become more powerful, to give himself and his followers the touch of God. At the end of the Chamber of Innocence, we meet the newly appointed High Templar, Averia.
I'll take it. I just hate that it exists, lol. Why? Why do you hate it exists? What about it do you dislike?
Butula tells us With Dominus away in Rayclast, someone had to keep the wheels of oppression turning. Avarius was only too happy to take the job. It was Avarius who led some of the largest and most crippling raids upon the
because it's only used for league starts. I mean, technically, you can use it for some extra strats, but you're just better off using Scarabs instead. Like, it's only used for league start, but that's its strength. For league start, it is godly. It's insane. And then in other situations, it's not that good. I think that's pretty. I feel like that's a good designed keystone. I feel like that's a well designed keystone, is rather. Like, there are a few keystones that are as well designed as that. Actually, since I've not played with too many keystones, I can't say there are a few that are as well designed, but like that is like one of the best keystones in my opinion on the Atlas tree. It does its job insanely well, but it's balanced to not be mandatory. The other one was better. You mean Wandering Path? I don't know. I don't think Wandering Path was necessarily better because like it was fun to kind of build around, but at its core, it would make it so you were in a weird state where you're progressing the Atlas at your weakest, but you're facing mobs that are probably stronger than you will the moment you unspec from that tree. It's like, why put you at your weakest in a handicap situation? I also just got better at it when they removed the SSF practice and everything. That is why I hate. I mean, I can understand hating it because of the fact that you practice for it, but at the same time, that's the beauty of PoE. Builds I made in like 3.23 might not be viable now. It might take some efforts to bring them up to speed, or a build I made last league could just disappear, just like that. But at the same time, a build that might not have been possible last league could be possible this league. This is the endgame aspirational POB. Is this Fobgun or who? Is it DPS accurate? Oh, is this your POB or whose POB? No, this is pretty decent. 23k, that's nice. And 100 mil. And held back by a lot. What do you mean held back by a lot? That's some damage. Say that much. But this is when you have your Val skill up, right? What does the Val skill do? 50% phase as lightning. Base duration is 6 seconds. Projectiles more than doubles. It basically doubles your projectiles. As you swing, in addition to converting some of your phase to lightning damage, is stored energy becomes an orb attached to the enemy you hit, or the ground that you don't hit an enemy. The orb will periodically fire projectiles at other. Oh, okay. That's strong. So you're assuming that you have 2 projectiles from lightning strike that hit the same target, as well as 1 from Val lightning strike. We don't know tinctures. True. But I mean, to be fair, okay. No, this is a tincture. Never mind. Okay, you have 2 tinctures and then you have a progenesis. P.S. You don't get double the flash charges by having it in the middle. Just a heads up. You only get 2 maximum. This is what Val lightning strike looks like. That's a lot of clutter. So what, it's self-propagating lightning strike? Is that it? You know, that gives me a build idea. But your Val is not up right now. I guess it's just returning. So let me see. I'll click the link again. Let's see where exactly it goes to. Oh, you have charges of Val Lightning Strike. Oh, you use a sextant for it. Is the sextant still alive in what's it called? Is this still alive in Skirabs? By the way, fun fact, this is my what's it called? My Needle Horror POB. This is what it looks like. It's very rough. I'm playing around with Group of the Council versus Triads. I don't like Triads 4 green sockets. So I'm just playing around with potentially using this. It's a DPS loss, but technically it's not too much of a loss because if I had to use this one, I would have to swap my Hatred to the gloves, and that'd be a DPS loss because Hatred right now is linked to Generosity, which is red. So it can't be in the gloves. So alongside Zealotry, so like just the claw was mirrored. Damn. To be fair, your Claire is insane there. What league was that? And this is what the tree looks like. I'm trying to stack as much aura effect as I can for Hatred because Hatred is phased as extra cold. So if I'm not converting its phase damage, I'm probably just better off getting cold damage directly. But that being said, I am also probably still going to get physical damage Ghastly Eye Jewels because we're getting as high as, like, if I turn this off and I go to Hatred, it is, this does not show, okay, this does show Generosity, so it's almost 2x, so it's like, where is it? I'll just show you what it is. It is how many percent? 96% phase as extra cool. So basically almost, it feels like almost full conversion, but I'm dealing 100% physical damage still. So we end up dealing a decent chunk of physical damage as well as a decent chunk of cold damage. So not like I can care about the physical per se, I just have no way of converting. But that was in Affliction. That's pretty chill. And the DPS number is inaccurate because it just doesn't calculate the DPS for that properly. And I can give you an example with PoE Needle Horror. Just Needle Horror. I'm sure those videos will pop out. This one, where POB shows like 18 mil DPS, but this is clearly more than 18 mil DPS. That's an example.
When I'm ready. I need more mana.
Like this is the feared, by the way. But then POB shows like 18 mil DPS for this, and it's like it's clearly not 18 mil DPS. But yeah, back to lore before we get sidetracked.
It was on his orders that
What POB is this? 260. God damn, what is this? Is this even more? Oh, this is the Affliction one, the one with the mirror weapon. How you would make this is you would awakener orbs you awakener orb your prefixes together, so you'd get 40% more LE damage, as well as, what is the second one you'd get? I think you'd get LE damage with attacks. And then how do you, then this one doesn't try to get +1 level, does it? No, it doesn't get +1 level. I'm not sure how you would end up getting, I'm assuming the last prefix is rootless. How'd you get rootless? I don't know how you would get rootless with LE damage and more attack. I assume it's gonna be the very last slam. Or it could just be a slam and a null at this point, and then keep trying until you get those 3 modifiers, and then you recraft speed. Oh no, you recraft crits. Now this is a mirror craft. This is not what I'm thinking. This is actually mirror crafted. It's more, the crafting process for this is way more expensive. But never mind. What I'm telling you, the crafting method I'm telling you will probably get you like some level 20, like 40% more AD. You get like maybe level 16s, 18s here and there. You could get they only be all level 20s, and to get critical strike damage, strikes, and multi-strike on the same suffix is expensive. So down to make something similar, it is fucking expensive though. So prepare yourself. You need multiple mirrors to make that shit. But the upside is you get to do mirror services, so you get to make some of that money back, if not all.
That men, women, and children were shackled and shipped like cattle to Theopolis. And it
What? Wait, what?
Avarius was only too happy to take the job. It was Avarius who led some of the largest and most crippling raids upon the Namakanui. It was on his orders that men, women, and children were shackled and shipped like cattle to Theopolis. And it was Avarius who spent 5,000 Karui lives building his Templar courts and his Chamber of Innocence, who had wives and daughters scrub their husbands' and fathers' blood from the stones so as to preserve their purity. We fight High Templar Avarius, who seems fanatic.
That's fucked.
When he falls, something similar to Dominus's transformation happens. Only this time Avarius does not turn into a vision of nightmare, he becomes a god, Innocence. While Utula and Valenta have...
So was this Innocence's will, or what the fuck is going on there? I did not mirror that, sorry, a friend mirrored it. I typed that without thinking. A friend let me play it after creating it. I funded all my money into the armor stacker. Oh. So he gave you his build, or you just used the weapon and made the build? But either way, that's a really strong build.
Hinted at this as we progress through Oriath. It is now clear.
I will say the screen clarity on that skill is kind of negative, but it makes me want to almost try it, in the sense that if it's self-propagating lightning strikes, then it can almost play like a totem playstyle, where you press Val, you hit it a few times, and you chill. Giving full credit in the description, okay. But yeah, if it like, it can, in theory, it can be like totem like, and then I just have to make sure I have 100% Val uptime, and the only way to do that is having something along the lines of I forget the name, but is it Shaper chest piece, Shaper belts that gives you flash charges, Tides of Time, as well, on top of having a Soul Ripper to give you souls. Once your prevention is done, then you get the souls back, and then rinse repeats. And then you can slap this on a Pathfinder to make it 100% uptime, or you slap on a one empty flask area Balbala, and you get the same effect, and you just 100% uptime Val skills, even in bossing situations. And of course, if you're in bossing you actually want to spam the skill too, well, Just thinking of just off the top of my head, that's how I would play it if I wanted to. And I think the same thing goes for Ice Shot, but the killer for Ice Shots or Val Ice Shot for me was that they don't fire unless you fire. If they fired without you firing, I would actually have played Val Ice Shot at some points, but they don't.
Somehow, gods of old roam free.
Think
This is
MTX?
the true cause of panic and uprising in Oriath. When Utula says
What does
that
that
he is
look
a
like?
follower of Kitava, he does not simply refer to the lessons of this old
What's
god.
the name of the
He has
you know the
communion
name of
with
the
the real
MTX?
Kitava in
Wait,
Oriath,
what?
roam free. This sense. While Utula and Valenta have hinted
glad
at
you
this as we
asked.
progress through Oriath, it is now clear. Somehow,
Like I said, I knew we weren't going to have too much time for Act 6. I don't think we'll make it to Act 6. Oh lol.
My mana is gone.
Why does it look so thick? Like it looks so thick. I mean, I know it's a skill, right? Okay. I mean, it does look different. I like it. Because like now that it's paused, I can see the lightning. This looks cool. But pink lightning is interesting. Like, why is the lightning
gods
pink?
of old roam free.
MTX
This
is
is
be like
the true cause of panic and uprising in Oriath.
last
when
one.
Utula says that
Alright,
he
let's
is a
see it. Oh damn. I like this one. But this one now looks slower than the others for some reason. But I like this one. I was gonna say you wouldn't see, but then again, with lightning strike, I don't think you see. Period. So there's that. My screen got too bright when I used it with the Val setup. Yeah, this is very bright. Dark room with lights. where it just looks like someone threw a flashbang in your room.
This is the true cause of panic and uprising in Oriath. When Utula says that he is a follower of Kitava, he does not simply refer to the lessons of this old god. He has communion with the real Kitava. And naturally,
Okay.
Innocence, when reborn, goes to the Templars that worship him. Innocence chose High Templar Avarius and took over his
So wait.
gods of old. Transformation happens.
Transformation
Only this time,
happens.
Avarius does not turn into a vision of nightmare. He becomes a god. Innocence. While Utula and Valenta have hinted at this as we progress through Oriath, it is now clear. Somehow, gods of old roam free. This is the true cause of panic and uprising in Oriath. When Utula says that he is a follower of Kitava, he does not simply refer to the lessons of this old god. He has communion with the real Kitava. And naturally, Innocence, when reborn, goes to the Templars that worship him. Innocence chose High Templar Avarius and took over his body. Fighting Innocence is significantly more challenging than fighting Avarius, but upon his defeat...
So wait. Is it Innocence that was committing those atrocities, or was it Avarius? And how did Innocence get roped into it to then come out of his body at this moment? Was he dormant? Was he asleep? Like, what the fuck is going on there? Like, I don't get it.
the aforementioned brother of Innocence, fighting Avarius. But upon his defeat, the aforementioned brother of Innocence, the god sins.
You know, this isn't how it currently is, right? Because I'm like, I've never seen this happen before.
But upon his defeat, the aforementioned brother of Innocence, the god Sin, appears. we can now assume all gods in the lore of Wraeclast and Oriath might be real. Unlike the Templars' writings about sin, it seems that sin
More
is
info
actually
later.
concerned for the well-being of mankind. Sin informs us that death might be real. Unlike the Templars' writings about sin, it seems that sin is actually concerned for the well-being of mankind. Sin informs us that killing the beast has awoken all the old gods. How does sin know this? Because sin is the creator of the beast. Sin created the beast specifically to keep the gods at bay in a deep slumber, the nightmare. This nightmare was powerful enough to keep all the gods asleep, but it also drew the attention of many power-seeking mortals throughout Wraeclast's history. And here we thought we were saving the world by killing the...
That explains so much. I'm itching to get into this patch. Do I do another Act 1 run? You know what you do? You once this stream is done, you go drown yourself in Torchlight. Play Torchlight or watch anime, watch whatever. Distract yourself until you're sleepy and then just pass out. And I recommend sleeping late, assuming you actually can sleep in. Because what that would do is it allows you to rest more and play longer. And plus, if you tire yourself out, there's less chance you wake up. There's less chance you wake up before you're ready to wake up. You'll make it through the night. It's less than 12. It's less than 24 hours. We got this.
The beast. Or maybe Valenta was right, and we had no benevolent intent for Wraeclast's history. And here we thought we were saving the world by killing the beast.
So by killing the beast, we woke up Kitava, as well as all the other gods, because they are no longer in their slumber. Which means it wasn't killing innocence that triggered Kitava to do what Kitava does. It was us killing the beast in Act 4. So Act 4 was the reason Kitava was here, nothing else. It was because I always assumed it was because we killed innocence. Now granted, we killed innocence, so like the balance maybe shifted and maybe Kitava grew stronger or his followers grew stronger, which is why everywhere gets destroyed like it does. But
or maybe Valenta was right, and we had no benevolent intentions in slaying the...
But it still don't make no sense, because there is no... Even if we destroy the beast and he's awake, why did he... I guess he wasn't there for all the atrocities Avarius committed, but like, why didn't he interfere before Avarius died or yada yada? I don't know.
Perhaps
was he still kind of asleep?
And opportunists ourselves. Sin wants to see the gods of old subdued once more, and since we were able to slay Malachi and the beast, Sin tasks us with this, with promises of more power. After we defeat
Task us with what? Despite your best effort, Beast Slayer, a splinter of hope remains. The very seed that brought my beast into existence, the dark ember, not never again shall it birth a life so magnificent as the beast. So the beast is not going to be recreated, yet the rest of the power still lingers enough to give us a fighting chance against the ravenous Kitava.
Us with this, with promises of more power. After we defeat Innocence and meet Sin, we emerge from the Chamber of Innocence to find a man named Banon demanding we explain ourselves. Banon was a former Blackguard, as the Ebony Legion we have seen on Wraeclast originates in Oriath under the High Templars.
What if we say no? You're gonna kill us?
Re-enter the
Good
Templar
luck killing
courts,
us.
everything is now on fire. The destruction of Innocence has allowed the other god present in Oriath to take over.
So that's
he
what
has
happened.
marked himself all over the Templar courts with a red X, and his cultists run amok. This is Kitava, the Karui god that Utula had mentioned earlier and that Kaum himself feared. When we return to the Overseer's Tower, Banon is waiting for us, but Utula is missing. Lani informs us that Utula left as soon as Innocence was vanquished, claiming he was called by Kitava. Valenta tells us Innocence's Staff of Purity is a real weapon we can find in the ossuary, and that we should use it to defeat Kitava. Lani knows of ancient Karui artifacts in the Reliquary, a place where holy relics are kept, and she believes we may learn more about Kitava there. The Oriath Square is in ruins as well, covered in the blood and fervor of Kitava's cultists. We must traverse this ruined square to find the information and tools suggested to defeat Kitava. When we enter the square, we can hear Utula shouting to the followers of Kitava, yelling what seems like a sermon. Fun fact, Utula has his sermon of Kitava written down by Erwin of Theopolis into the Holy Book of Hunger, clearly in the style of religious texts, even calling himself High Priest Utula. Utula has been transformed by Kitava into Itula, stone and steel. We defeat this monstrous vision of Utula and continue on to the reliquary. The reliquary is a place where ancient and holy relics are kept, and here we can find 3 relics of the Karui gods. As we gather the Karui artifacts for Lani, we find writings about Kitava himself. The 3 entries chronicle the story of Kitava and Tukahama. To summarize, Aruhungai, daughter of the moon, wanted to have a feast for Tukahama.
I know the pronunciation of that because of Tota. That one is, I don't know. That one stood out to me because I think I remember Aruhungui being very annoying. I think it was the ice one, right? Very annoying troops
the story of Kitava
to face at least.
To summarize, Aruhungai, daughter of the moon, wanted to have a feast for Tukahama returning from war with the first ones of the Ezamites. Tawa, son of the forest, gathered birds to be cooked for the feast. Kitava, the god of hunger, told Aruhungai he would watch the birds as they cooked, but instead he ate all of them. When Tukahama arrived,
why would you? Okay, I have to assume he wasn't a god at this point. He wasn't a god of hunger, you know.
Guy told what happened and asked for Kitava to be punished. Tukahama pulled out his tooth, one of the artifacts we find, and cut Kitava across the face in 2 diagonal strokes, blinding him and marking him with a large X, which we've seen symbolized in the Templar courts, and spoilers, we will see face to face later. To replace the birds Kitava ate, Tukahama and Valako, father of the storm, go fishing with Kitava. In the boat, Kitava eats all the bait for the fish. Valako takes off his own jaw, the second Karui artifact, and hooks Kitava, intending to use him as bait for the fish instead. At the bottom of the sea, Kitava eats all of the fish. When Tukahama and Valako pull him up...
Yo, Kitava's a menace. What the fuck? He's a fucking menace. He don't give a shit. He's like, I'm gonna eat everything. Say I won't.
They decide Kitava needs ultimate punishment. They take Kitava to Hinakora, the mother of death. They ask Hinakora to kill Kitava so that he does not starve the rest of the Karui. Hinakora decides death is not the correct punishment, as a lesson needs to be learned. Hinakora beats Kitava with a whip made of her own hair, the third Karui artifact. She drives him to the underworld with her hair whip and leaves him to suffer without food or water for eternity. And that is where Kitava had remained, starving and tormented. That is, until we killed the beast and set the gods free. While this may seem like a fable intended to teach mortals a lesson, we can assume at least some of the tale is literal. The artifacts are real, and as we've seen, so is Kitava. The ossuary is a place
wait. So Kitava emerged from this statue?
At least some of the tale is literal.
I don't think I've seen the statue break and the horns pop out.
And as we've seen, so is Kitava. The ossuary is a place where the bones of dead Oriath are placed. As we make our way through the maze of bones, we find the Staff of Purity.
I mean, I've seen this cutscene. The animation happens every time. You really are a lore hater. It doesn't break though. Is it? When does it happen? I don't know if you're seeing ads right now or not. I have no idea if you can answer this. Because I've seen the cinematic where like it shows that area. Okay, you're not watching ads. I've seen the cinematic where it shows like that area, but like what happens there is it just shows the rock. It doesn't break, it doesn't move. I think there's like voice lines or something, but it doesn't break.
Knowledge of Kitava and the
And I know this because the first time I played it, I watched it because I thought that was cool.
of purity, we make off for the cathedral to face Kitava.
When does the cinematic play? It's not at the start of the game, right? It's you literally fight the statue in Act 5. I just thought that was Kitava's form. He just wasn't fully resurrected or something. Like I didn't even know that statue was the same statue we saw in the opening picture where we choose our temple, our character. Like I didn't know shit about fuck. It goes on Kitava. Yeah, like I just felt like my guy was going Super Saiyan. Like this is his stage 1. You broke his shell. Okay, now he's in stage 2. He's ready to fucking kill you. You beat him again, so he spits on you, and now you're cursed. Like, am I wrong? that is what it looks like.
Kitava is on the roof of the Theopolis Cathedral. Kitava is a primal god like sin or innocence, unlike the mortals who became
I'll forgive
gods.
this now.
He is the god of hunger. His punishment by the other Karui gods has inflamed his desire to consume. When Malachi spoke to Kaum through Nightmare, he told Kaum that the world was infested with Kitava's followers, and that Tukahama would give Kaum an offering to free his Karui from oppression. Haku, a Karui, believes that Kaum's vision to lead his Karui to Mount Verusa was actually Kitava's corruption, bringing him to madness and turning Kaum into one of Kitava's slaves, like Utula.
But it's
While Kaum's vision may have
Malachi.
actually been a dream from Nightmare with a Karui interpretation, rather than Kitava's direct influence, it seems Kitava can truly corrupt and consume everything around him. Kitava's massive size and power seem an imminent threat to Oriath. Just like the beast before, we will attempt to defeat something that has been undefeated for centuries. We take Innocence's Staff of Purity and plant it like a banner to aid us in this fight. Kitava is insanely powerful, and halfway through the battle, the Staff of Purity is broken, and so are we. We fall to the ground, and Sin flies down to gather us before we are consumed by
so that's
Kitava.
what he did.
Sin carries us to the
I thought he
Oriath
spat on
docks,
us. Like
where a
he
woman
like
named Lily Roth
for some
offers
reason
to
he
save-
got pissed and then he threw affliction at us, and all of a sudden we're cursed. Like we just feel. I guess now it makes sense that he was attacking the banner which was preventing said corruption. Yeah, I mean that makes more sense than you know, makes more sense than that. Because that's a very long spit, you know.
sail us back to
He threw affliction at us. Yes, he did, but he threw it at this. I think he threw it at the staff, and we were caught in the crossfire. It's like boom, explosion hits us, we're gone. And then abyss monsters were gonna kill us. Abyss monsters? You mean the things he was spawning? Like Kitava's
Sin flies
Herald?
down to gather us before we are consumed by Kitava. Sin carries us to the Oriath docks,
And Sin saved us in MF gear.
where a woman named
Okay,
Lily Roth
okay.
offers to sail us back to
I get it.
Raycraft.
All right, so we are done with Act 5. We are literally halfway through. I think this is a good place to stop it. I really like the lore so far, I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm actually having fun understanding what is going on, because the first part of the lore story was kind of less engaging, because it's more about the past, you know, the things that have happened, who Lion Eye was, for example, and who defeated him. was it Karuri, who Harry was, and yada yada, right? But like when you get to like Act 4, Act 3 even, it's you. Act 3 starts becoming more about you and the people that are directly interacting with you. It's still about the past because you still talk about like Pity's old, what Pity did in the past, you know, Dominus's history, stuff like that. But like by Act 4, it's like this is what's happening now. He lured this fucker, he lured this one, he's in there, he's causing this, so you kill him, and this is the consequence of that action. Now this is happening because you did that, and then this person is doing this, and then you do this, so then this happens, so like boom, now you need to go do some other shit. Like that's kind of how it picks up in 4 and 5, and from like that is more engaging, I would say. So like right now I'm having a lot of fun just, you know, understanding the lore and why we're doing the things we're doing in the campaign. I kind of wish we could continue this today, but it doesn't. I don't think so. I have a video to figure out because I want to post a video tomorrow morning about my League Start guide. It's very late for a League Start guide, but like better late than never. So I will be posting. I'm going to have to record that tonight, so that's what I'm probably gonna do. Work and then edit it, or I might wake up early tomorrow, work on that and try to get it out as soon as possible. Then whatchamacallit, I will try to be live like an hour before League starts so we can maybe watch 6 and maybe Conquerors of Atlas, because it's just neatly positioned here. I don't know why it's in the middle. Maybe I figure out 7, 8, 9, 10 before I watch Conquerors of the Atlas. Maybe I think going through the acts first, then going to Conquerors makes more sense. But anyways, we might do 6 tomorrow, or we might just leave 6 and onwards for the next time we're doing Lore Appreciation. Because we can't spend league start time doing it, and I already see myself needing to do like my item filter, probably some the rejects and stuff like that. So I mean, we'll see. Anyways, it's been fun. I'm gonna be back tomorrow. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you guys, and yes, good night as always. I'll catch you then.